Everyone, welcome back to another edition of the Apex, the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, Oblivion are your champions. We are back from ALGS champs, and we are feeling the effects of the Japanese time. Obviously, Jhawk and Jumbo were actually there, and me and Donnie were just living in Japanese time in Fresno, California. But either way, all of us still battling back a little bit from trying to get that sleep.
I don't even know how you're going to work.
Fixed. Yeah, dude, it's been rough. It's been rough.
Every day
took a
around
nap
1
on my
p.m.
lunch break today.
Every day around 1 p.m., I can't stay awake anymore. I'm like fighting it. It's the worst feeling in the world, and I sleep until 5.
And
that's not even Japanese time, by the way.
To drink caffeine, by the way. I tried to do that 2 days ago. I made it to 9:30 in the morning.
Dry January with caffeine or something?
Yeah, I just want to see if I could do it. Can't. I'm accepting that I can't do it. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, Oblivion are your champions, boys. It was, in my opinion, this was the greatest LAN of all time. I obviously have a ton of bias. Everybody on the show who's been listening for a long time knows how much I love Monsoon. But it was just the culmination of his entire storyline coming through and finally being able to see that moment happen. And not even just that, just the way that this entire team did it, how they made it through. It's not just Monsoon, by the way. Obviously, we've had him on the show, so we talk a little bit more about him. But it was everybody. It was this entire thing breaking down into this beautiful moment, him sprinting across the stage, just running everywhere, cameraman chasing him down. It was poetic. It was beautiful. It was everything we could have loved. Jumba, from your perspective, being boots on the ground, how was it seeing Oblivion win that?
Oh, the thing I loved is, like, I feel for most, in Japan, for most teams outside of the Japanese teams, you didn't really ever hear too many cheers. I don't know if you guys remember last year with Go Next and everything like that. It almost felt like there's like a shock in the crowd when they won. But I think it's because Monsoon came out in that maid dress. And there also was like just enough fans probably aware of him. The crowd actually went insane for him, as did I. As did other people around me. It was amazing. It was amazing to see the reaction, the celebration, and even the celebration afterwards. The amount of people I've heard that are so excited for him. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, couldn't ask for anything better.
So now we brought on special guest Jay, who's been he's the most decorated guest of all time. He's been on the show more than literally anybody. Jay, thanks for joining us today.
Pseudo-host.
I can't wait to talk about some more. Yeah, basically. But Jay, we had a conversation before you had taken off, getting ready for the event and stuff like that. And we were kind of just talking about like the greatest storylines that could happen. And we were just throwing stuff out there like, what about if this team won? What about if this team won? And I had brought up Oblivion, and it was kind of like, we talked about how great the storyline would be, but there was like no real, like, we didn't really have like that real confidence it could happen. But now they do it. The story's incredible. From your perspective being there, how did it feel seeing all that take place?
I gotta have a hands up moment here. I said me, Don, and Jumba did a tier list, and I said, if you asked me any America's team that would get bottom 10, I would have picked Oblivion. Like, that's how much I just did not think this was going to happen. It was not the cleanest of roads to get to the finals, but they got there, and when they got there, they showed up big time. I mean, I saw some people talking about, the best team and, did the best team when they had the most points. They had the most points, the most placement points, tied for the most kills with Falcons. Like, what more can you ask for? You know what I mean? In terms of winning it in the finals. The storyline's incredible. Obviously, like, when it happened, it was almost, it's very similar to Go Next last year in terms of like, what an underdog. Like, most people were not expecting that to happen, but very lovable storyline, a lot more of a rich history in terms of Fun and Monsoon's like lore and legacy of being at the top of the game in the past. Blinks are kind of this rising star that has kind of been known, and like there was a point where it felt like, I think it was maybe either after the Open or directly before it, but Furia was looking at a potential roster change. And I think it was actually before the Open, because this is when they dropped Vax. And I remember Keon talking about maybe potentially Blinkster coming into the fold. So he'd been kind of a name, but hadn't like quite made it to that point. And so it sort of felt like when you just look at their story, like people would view Mon and Fun as sort of like washed versions of themselves. And then Blinks are kind of this guy that feels like he's elevating, but not quite there yet. And then yet still, despite what that perception was, I mean, they won the whole damn thing, you know? And bro, we talk about championship celebrations. Bro.
None better.
Blinkser jumps on the desk. They're all freaking out. And then Mon sprinting around. It just shows what he's about, because he's hyping up and he's getting celebrating with his boys. But then the immediate thing after that was, where's Kimchi? And he sprinted straight to Kimchi, like his ride or die.
Do you think it was where's Kimchi or where's just anyone that I need to be with? I think
it was multiple people, but Kimchi was standing there the entire finals, and I think he knew that.
Oh, okay. Did he know?
He knew that Kimchi
I didn't
was
know
over
that.
there.
Yeah.
Because why else would he have run that way?
Because I was wondering why Kimchi was down there.
Kimchi was there the whole finals, because every time we'd go out for the desk, he was always out there watching. And so I'm assuming he knew that Kimchi was over there.
Yeah, he could see him. Like, he could see him the same way that he saw like us in the stands last year. Like, it's not hard to see him.
Yeah, so he immediately sprinted to Kimchi, celebrated with him, went and celebrated the B Stream and Timmy. And I mean, like, it was such a cool moment, because I feel like when I watch back that moment of him running around, it was like he ran to the people that he was like, these guys believed in me. You know what I mean? Like, they've been there for years, like through thick and thin. Like, these are the people that were like in my corner, and immediately going to them. It was such a special moment. And also, like Jumbo said, the crowd being into it, shout out the crowd. Like, that crowd was massive too. I haven't heard like the official confirmed number.
16,500 around, like, roughly.
Yeah. So like even bigger than last year. Like, it was nuts. I do want to shout out to all the pro players who put an effort into, like, I wouldn't say networking, but like trying to get involved with the Japan fans, because you could tell that it like mattered, because when those walkouts happened, I don't know if it was just because of the maid outfit, but also Monsoon like loves the Japanese food. So they were cheering for him. Apparently Unlucky is like a massive like superstar for the Japan fans. So Alliance got a lot of big cheers.
Alliance in general are. The crowd with Alliance, I don't know if you could see it because you were down low, Jay. I know you didn't go up. But the amount of Alliance fans out there were insane. And I think it's because like Alliance does have like a big Japanese culture. Like, you see a lot of their merch, their new logo is all Japanese writing. But then they also have like Japanese like creators, like her name's Shinya. She's like a massive Japanese like streamer, and she goes to every event with the esports crew and like vlogs and does the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it's but that's how you see like that after we're like,
right,
they're a Swedish org and they have a massive Japanese fan base.
Exactly. Crazy Thieves, obviously, when you do the Crazy Raccoon collab, like, they had a lot of big cheers. Hot Dog Mafia, because I think Al puts a lot of effort into trying to like
and the hot
reach
dog
out
outfit
to the Japanese fan. The hot dog outfit too. Anybody that did stuff like that was getting big reactions from the crowd, and it was super sick. So it felt like, compared to last year, like, and maybe it's also because we've been there before now, but the crowd was way more invested in not just the APAC North teams. Obviously, Unlimit Fnatic, that was when the stadium erupted. You know what I mean? That was the loudest it got, but it was still cool to see how much more invested they were in the other stories. And so then when they won, it like, the place was so loud. It was so cool.
Yeah. And Don, from a more like, from our perspective, sitting in back here and watching the entire thing play out, we had made mention multiple times on stream about Oblivion. It felt like there was a shift in the amount of KP they were getting. And I don't have numbers to really back that up, but it did feel like they were playing like a typical like Monsoon style, let's get zone, and then we'll try to sit zone as long as we can, and we'll snag some kills. And then from there, we'll see what happens. But I felt like they started to really gather some kills with a lot of those blinks or calls and getting them to those areas that they wanted to get to. They didn't end up winning games literally until the finals, that final lobby. But that entire time, they were gathering a bunch of KP leading up to this, and it was almost like a flip of a switch. From your perspective, Don, just seeing this whole thing take place, I mean, it just felt like we got to see the greatest version of these three guys who, for a long time, haven't been viewed as like anybody who could win a LAN. I'm sure back in the early days with Fun and Monsoon, you could say, yeah, they could. But they, like Jay said, they started to kind of feel like they weren't going to reach that plateau. But they get there, they change their style up, and they do it in magnificent fashion. What did you see from Oblivion?
Yeah, I mean, I think the coolest part of this whole thing is that this finals, like, we had Falcons at the best we've ever seen this team play. We had E36 showing up and being one of the best stories of this land, playing absolutely fantastic the entire time. You had Grow Gaming being on top of their game. You had SAUL being up there. I mean, there were so many teams that, like, we saw really good versions of, and Oblivion was right there with them when nobody expected this team to be anywhere close. I mean, like Jay said, that we had talked about it. At best, we were thinking about putting them at, like, maybe could make finals, but like the way that they just played, you can just tell. Like, you can tell when an IGL is just, they're seeing all the key moments to make that move, and it just, they're all in sync. They're in that flow state. Like, every single important decision they had to make, especially in that last game, you could just see like they were ready to capitalize on the moment. And I think that's just what the coolest thing about it is. You had the experience with Fun and Mon. You had the younger IGL with Blinkster. A lot of people have started to question, like what level he was going to get to eventually. And at the end of the day, man, just seeing a team like this where, yes, like they're primarily a zone team, but they do such a good job in these big moments of just capitalizing when the opportunity brings itself. It was such a cool thing to watch. I myself, I'm not gonna lie, I was hoping Falcons would win just because of how well they played. But you can't hate the story, man. Like, it's such an incredible thing to see these guys specifically put it together. And yeah, like you mentioned, like the kills started coming their way, and he knew a team like that, like if they just got enough points to put themselves in the position, it just took the one opportunity, at the right time for them. And obviously it was a pretty crazy zone pull as well, but they were one of the first teams that capitalized and found a good spot to play. So big hats off to them for being able to keep their cool. And I think the thing I love the most was just, again, their comms in that last game were just typical Monsoon Fun, man. Just relax, saying the dumbest things, like,
Yeah.
but also understanding what the moment brought them. Just every little thing that you would hope, whether they needed to relax, whether they needed to make a push, whether they needed to make a silly joke, like whatever it was, the comms were just perfect. And it just, again, I think Onset really said it best, like from homeless to pro player to champ. I mean, what more could you ask for, man? It was sick to watch.
Yeah, I thought I made a note of it. I don't know. I remember there's a comm. They're just like sitting there and like Mon just yells something penis. And I was like, it's just like the land final
though.
game 9. Yeah. It wasn't like in the stressful portion of it. When the stressful portion happens, they lock in. But I was just like, I was literally like just typing notes, just like, wait, what? Like, what made him yell that? And I look, and there was nothing to make him yell that. He just said it.
I remember when I started watching back just the final lobby. I just wanted to see how everything sounded with just the final lobby. I click on it, and the first game goes, and the incredible amount of relaxation they had. I almost thought I clicked on the wrong video. I was like, did I click on like group stages or something? I went back to check. I was like, no, I'm on the finals, but that's how relaxed they were, and they were having fun the whole time. Like, that was kind of their vibe, and I think that really helped them go the distance in a certain respect, but also having the ability to have Blinkster. There was multiple times where Blinkster was calling off Mon or Fun on certain things and saying, we're going to go do this. And I think that was key in certain moments to help them get to this specific spot.
It was something with Blinkster, and he says like good spot, and both of them start mocking his accent. They're like, it's like when he says good or something like that, like the D like kind of like comes out like good, like it's just like a soft D, like you don't hear like the hard duh. And so they start mocking. They're like a soft D there, like it's just like these guys trying to make a comment. They're fucking just constantly calling him out. God
Even
spot.
when
He said God spot. Yeah.
Even when there was frustration, there wasn't like that frustration that you hear in other comms. It was more like, like I felt like we could have taken this place instead of this one. And it was just a regular conversation amongst teammates, which like sometimes when you listen to these comms, you kind of almost expect it to be a little bit more contentious, but it just wasn't. It never was.
I tweeted it out. Like their end game wasn't like, I said it was world class because if you specifically in the end game, it's like Blinkster says, go right, go right, go right. And like, it's like not even just like that they're going. It's like Mon and Fun are confirming we're going right. He's like, take stairs. We take stairs. He's like, swing this now. We're swinging now. Like they're confirming every single call, which is not something you typically hear teams do. Like guys follow it up, but like in this case, I feel like them doing that lets Blinkster know like they're full in committed with like what he's wanting them to do, but also to know that like none of them are like doing a different thing at that time, right? Or if they have to, they call out that like they can't in that moment. So it was just like, yeah, it's pretty. I've listened to a lot of comms from different teams, and that was something that I don't think I've ever like really caught before.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, real quick, like the speed and recognition that Blinkster was able to have in that moment, because again, a lot of people really have questioned like, you know, where he could get to in terms of IGLing, but he realizes the teams are fighting on the left. He realizes Alliance is in a bad spot on the right, and he's like, I see this gap, like we can shoot this gap right now. And yeah, just the time of it all. It just, I think Wyatt, you'd made this comment, and it was something I really realized throughout this tournament was like the veteran experience really showed throughout this tournament, and he could really tell like in that final few moments, like just having Monsoon and Fun who have just been there, done that. Yeah, they maybe haven't won, but they've been, you know, to so many lands before, have played well at past lands and everything, that it was just the perfect recipe of this young IGL that was confident that he had two guys that were going to back him up with everything. And yeah, it was really cool to see.
Yeah, no, it was beautiful. It was fantastic. Everything was great. Some other side notes I had about Oblivion before we move on into the rest of the tournament and some of the other teams that stood out, or maybe didn't stand out. Number one, the new MVP trophy fucks. The new MVP trophy is so sick. It's just a Phoenix kit. Let's fucking go.
Bro, when they first showed it, Graceful had it turned, and I was like, is it literally just a Phoenix? Like, does it not even say MVP on it or anything? And then finally, or maybe it was Blinkster, I don't know. Someone was holding it when I saw it first. And then when they turned it, I was like, okay, that's because I was worried it was literally just going to be a Phoenix kit.
I didn't know it said
like, bro,
MVP.
someone's going to think you
that.
bought that off of Etsy or something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But then when I saw the MVP, I was like, okay, that's sick. That's way cooler.
Yeah, I was wondering because it was Graceful. I remember that because it was the first time they had showed it, and it took because it took a minute for him to like flip it around. I was like, it can't just be the Phoenix kit, right?
When he first showed it, I was like, hold on, this isn't that cool. Like, if it's only a Phoenix, because then, like, I could buy that and put it on the back of my shelf, you know? Like, it's got to stand out. Then I saw the plaque on the front. I was like, okay, that's badass.
Yeah, no, I love the new trophy. Also, when Blinkster was just up there celebrating, he has some sick triceps. I'm just going to throw that out there. Just guy to guy, you got some sick triceps.
In general, I was actually thinking, and I've seen the guy in person. In general, I'm like, Blinkster's like huge. He's built. Like, how have I like not caught
tricep
that before?
goals?
Yeah.
Tricep goals for me.
Great head of hair too.
Great head of hair.
Great head of hair.
That out,
hey, that's just being Canadian.
That's just Canada.
That's Canada.
That's just Canada.
There was something I keep forgetting. Maybe it'll come up later on, and I'll bring it back up if we circle back to finals at some point. Yeah, no, I think the only thing that I was thinking about too is like just in general, like back to like when Jay was talking about the celebration and like how it's like so Monsoon. There's not a player in the entire Apex scene that would like run off like that because like, and we know like we've never seen anyone do that in any of the lands. But even like his fiance was up there like immediately. It's like he got, like Jay said, everyone who like mattered to him like got up on stage and celebrated with him in that moment, in like no other way that anyone else would be able to.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, shout out to freaking on Twitter, Lens of Jared. That's the cameraman chasing Monsoon. Shout out to Jared because one of the like coolest shots that's probably ever happened in any esport ever. Like that is such a sick moment to have captured, and like that him capturing that, I feel like elevates this LAN in terms of the way that we will forever remember it. And so before we move on, I actually did want to ask y'all, where do you guys rate this LAN all time? Wyatt said he thinks it's the greatest LAN
I
ever,
think it's
but also
number
know
one.
that Wyatt's a ride or die Monsoon guy, right? So I feel like if you're a ride or die Monsoon fan, this has to be your GOAT, you know?
I also think just the story. I think the story is so sick, though. It is like just a sick story. I thought there was a lot of drama.
Sick, yeah.
I thought there was like some teams that obviously like really should have made it, which we'll get to here in a second. I thought that there was a team that was like that juggernaut team, like the Monstars, who were kicking ass, who we'll get to in a second too. I just felt like it was really good. It ended in 9 games. I feel like that's a decent trade-off. Like you don't want too many games, but you also don't want it to end in like 4 or 6. So I just feel like it was the best one.
It's top 3. It might be top 2 for me. I think year 3 champs is really hard to beat. Like every time I think about like a LAN that we have and I'm like, where would I rank this? And I think this might be the greatest, or hear someone say this is the greatest. I'm like, maybe. And then I sit there and I think of everything that unfolded at year 3 champs. And I was like, it's just kind of fucking hard to beat.
Yeah, to me,
like-
nothing can beat year
Yeah.
3 champs personally.
Well,
That
yeah.
one also,
Yeah.
I'm a little biased because that was like the first one I ever went to in person, but like the
I wasn't
Optic
even there.
NRG mode and
Exactly.
that happening at NorthPad, the Dojo versus Alliance contest,
The TSM
like,
3 back to
the
back,
TSM
the
3
fucking
back-to-back.
winners bracket final where like Moist, Dojo, and freaking TSM were gonna go to losers in the final game, clutched
Yeah.
up. TSM wins that game, but they clutch up. They all get into finals and don't go through thing.
The
like you
magical
mentioned,
black hand run.
Dojo in general,
like,
yeah, magical black hand run. Dojo in general, like being one game off, like or one fight off of like winning, and they would have been an LCQ team to win. Like they came
Yeah.
4th overall. Like that was a whole Cinderella run that I thought we'd never see something like that again. But and we still technically have. We saw an LCQ team win, but Dojo was pretty unstoppable at that tournament too. Yeah, it cemented like the TSM dynasty, like 1-2-1 of the year. So it's just hard to put it above that. The other one is like I don't think EWC one as a whole was like amazing. Like there wasn't too like because the group stage format I think is just like too basic with only one group. But the final is just insane. That 13 game final and all the upsets and everything that went down, and then like Alliance winning second, like they finally cap off that. But this one is like really close there with like that EWC. Like I don't know which I'd put at 2, which I'd put at 3.
What do you have, Don?
Yeah, I'd probably say year 3 champs, but I think if you just more isolate like the storyline of like the winner, I think obviously this one I think would be the best just from where they came to where they won. But yeah, that whole year 3 champs, I mean, you can make a video almost of every single individual like day and it would all be crazy. Like it just each of those days was just insane. So
that tournament's made me a lot of money.
Oh yeah,
tournament made careers, bro.
It literally did. I think your champs like
fucking video, my dojo video,
yeah, it made our
Optic
career.
video.
Yeah. No, there's a lot that came from that.
But
tournament.
no, this one I definitely think I would say would be 2 for me, and then the EWC would probably be 3. But yeah, I mean, this one it's going to be one to remember for a long time for sure. Hopefully that this esport goes on for a while, but yeah, I think it was definitely top tier.
Yeah, we're gonna get to.
I will say though,
the year.
If you want to go in terms of like videos and topics and everything like that, there has not been a LAN in a long time. Like honestly, probably since year 3 champs, where I was like, I have so many ideas where I'm like, these could all be videos. Like there's so much that's come out of this LAN because like the stories have been that good.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to get to our biggest surprises from the tournament, but before I do that, I feel like we have to talk about Falcons, and I know there's some listeners out there who are rolling their heads. They're already typing the comment, you're sucking off Falcons again. Listen, Oblivion won this tournament. They were fantastic. It was incredible. You are not watching the tournament if you don't think Falcons is the best team in the world. I'm sorry. It was impressive what they were doing. They ultimately, they don't win it, obviously. They get second. But Falcons is the best team in the world. And I feel like I have to be the one to say this because I did not put them in my top 5. And they absolutely dominated me in so many respects. Hal tweeting me. That was a tough look. Caitlin, my fiance, telling me, why didn't you put them in the top 5? Not a great look. It was bad all the way around. But Falcons deserves it, man. Honestly, they were so impressive. And I think it comes down to every little detail. And Don, I'll throw this one to you because I know you were really rooting for them in this one here. But it just seems like every single part of their game, whether it be their preparation, in-game stuff, comms, whatever it may be, it just feels like it's all just like a well-oiled machine, better than anybody else does it. And it feels so weird to see how consistent Hal can be at these things, but he's back at the helm as an IGL, gets second his first time again, and honestly, like it was incredible.
Yeah, it just almost seemed like Hal really was set out with a point to prove to a lot of people. Which, if he watched legitimately 5 minutes of Apex, he doesn't need to prove anything to anybody. But that's just his mentality that he has. It was nothing short of exceptional with how he was playing on an individual level and guild and Walty as well. I mean, for all the people that are, hating on Walty for things, in the past, whatever, any player has always said that Walty is at his best when he's at a LAN, and I truly think that he once again proved that at this LAN. Guild again, it feels like there's people that have let his name slip a little bit down the list over the years of the controller players. And Apex, this tournament just cemented where he should be near the top, if not the top, with how good he is as an all-around player. I mean, there's so many stats you can throw out there, or so many different things you could talk about with this team. But like you said, it's honestly just point blank. Like, this is the best team in the world. They proved it on every single map and, again, every single scenario. And yeah, in terms of like, if you want to say who deserved to win, of course, the way they played, they deserved it. But again, Oblivion showed up when they needed to. They ended up with the most points, so it's kind of hard to argue. But again, Falcons, I mean, what was it, first in the group stage, first in winners. I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, it's what I think a lot of people expected the first versions of this team to be. And I think that you finally saw that, role fits matter. And I think when Guild got brought in, it was very easy to tell that you've got 3 players that are very much locked into a role that they're very comfortable with. So yeah, huge shout out to them. Again, it's fun to watch people that are really good at things be really good at things. So it's just, yeah, it was a ton of fun to watch. And I mean, the number 1 team heading into year 6. I mean, it's just no doubt about it for sure.
Yeah, from your guys' perspective too, I wanted to throw this down to Jay, because I know that it was like a weird moment kind of leading up to it. I believe it was Game 7 was the Fnatic, Falcons, and Hot Dog Mafia game on Olympus, which I want to talk about Olympus in a little bit too. But that game, I'm watching it. I don't know who's winning. I don't know what's going to happen. And then it says Fnatic is the champion on the screen. From you in the stadium, I'm pretty sure you had to go to the desk at like if it were to end right there. What was that moment like for everybody watching?
From that game onwards, it literally became like, oh shoot, there's a match point team alive, and it's like final 8. Like, everybody sprint. So we're all sprinting out to the desk to make sure that we're like ready to go when it happens. It's just funny because like we really didn't need to, like, because they take the whole time to like lift the trophy and all this stuff. Like,
so
we got a good
time.
amount of time before it throws back to the desk. But also, like, we wanted to be out there in the crowd, because honestly, like, watching in the green room compared to like when you're actually in the stadium is kind of lame. Like, being out there with the crowd is way more fun. When you watch from Fnatic's POV, it's not actually as stressful as you think it is, but the main broadcast is watching Falcons POV. Yeah. So you think that Falcons is actually going to win because they've downed people on Fnatic. But then when it actually ends, like, it turns out Falcons get 3rd. So like, and Fnatic have like a decent amount of health. And like, when you watch from their angle, when they showed the replay, I was like, oh, like they were clearly winning this. But from the Falcons one, I was convinced. I was like, Falcons are winning this. When they first died, I think it was like Thieves had pinched them from the south side at their compound, and then they like lose out on, I think, Guild. He gets full thirsted. Waltzy goes down. Hal's alive. Waltzy crawls all the way to Hal. They res Waltzy, then get the respawn with, crawled. I don't know how he got there.
I literally was in the crowd saying like, no way.
That man crawled across the entire POI.
Yeah.
If Waltzy was the one that got full thirsted, there's almost no shot they get the full reset, because then they don't get the banner because he's crypto. But because Waltzy was able to get there, they get it with the crypto, they get the respawn. And then when they're playing that low ground and they've like successfully secured it and everybody else that's left is on the height, I was like, dude, Falcons are going to win this game, because when this circle closes, they will still be able to sit on the low ground and the other teams are going to have to jump off. And then at that point, they can just climb up while the other teams are killing each other. The one thing that I think really screwed over Falcons is Hot Dog is a duo. And so Hot Dog, I think, was like guaranteed knowing we are not playing for the win. Like, we cannot win this game as a duo. And so they Valkult up just to try to survive as long as possible, which I think gave Fnatic enough space to be able to fight Falcons. But even then, bro, when Guild climbed up and shot Fnatic in the back, like on that rock,
it was over.
I was convinced. Right there, I was like, it's over. Like, this is the most dominant tournament we've ever seen from a team. Like you said, first in groups, first in winners. Nobody has ever placed first in winners and won. Nobody has ever been the first team to win to get to match point and win. There wasn't even like another dramatic moment up to that point. Like, this was the first time that a team had a chance to actually close it out. And even like first in groups, I looked back, the only team to ever place first in groups and win was TSM. at the howl comes down from the heavens moment. So even that almost never happens. So I was like, yeah, like it's over. Most dominant win of all time. But unfortunately for them, caustic gas, man. From what I saw, I think Waltzy took 2 ticks to zone, then died to caustic gas on the climb up. Hal tweeted because he was upset that a lot of people were telling him that he should have bank smoked. Does bank smoke destroy friendly caustic barrels?
That's what he said. I don't know. I like
It
when he
does?
said that.
Yeah,
Hal
I'm
said that.
Okay.
pretty sure it does. Yes.
I'm assuming he would know, you know what I mean? But I just never
Yeah.
thought about that fact, like does it destroying friendly ones? So if it does, then I kind of understand his POV of like, you know, we also have caustic gas ticking the enemies. So it's like, I don't want to get rid of all of it because then you're kind of gambling on like, okay, can we win with our guns versus like, do we think the caustic gas can kill him? So I don't totally blame him for not bang smoking. But I think also Waltzy went for an EMP and I don't know if it got destroyed or he just missed.
No, it got destroyed.
I couldn't
Got
quite tell if it
destroyed.
got destroyed. Okay, yeah.
Like realistically, in that situation, yeah, he flies it up above them. Like Waltzy
Yeah.
has to just fly it behind the rock where it can't get like
Yeah.
hit and like it hits him. Like so he doesn't do that. The other thing with Waltzy too is he gets 2 ticks of zone because like when Guild goes for that swing on the right to shoot them in the back, Fnatic, Waltzy slides to the left to go fight Hot Dog. And I don't know if he hits the super glide or what, but like he just lunges too far where it's like he's on a ledge and he gets sent over the other ledge onto the low ground. When he climbs back up, he's so low he dies. He's not even. I think Bo or the caustic guys kill him before he's able to shoot Bo in the back. That leaves Bo alive to shoot Hal in the back.
Yeah. So when you look back at the end game, honestly, wasn't the cleanest from Falcons. Certainly could have been a lot more clean. I think there's even an argument to be made that even if Hal did bank smoke, like if I'm just taking straight up gun skill of any of those teams, I'm taking Falcons. So maybe they win if he does that, but I don't know because also like Falcons were all kind of split from each other, so they didn't have the ability to play knockdowns where Fnatic did. That was like the one thing Fnatic did really well was after Guild got the initial knock, they just like turtled behind the knockdown and were able to just clutch up from that factor. So I don't know. It was a crazy moment though. When Fnatic won, the fact that number one, we're going one more game, but number two, Fnatic are now on
Japan.
screen, the crowd erupted.
Insane.
Like it was crazy. It was so cool. I remember I'm at the desk obviously because we're like seeing if we have to go. But when it happened, I like literally this. I mean, you were there a while last year. We were all like jumping and going crazy, but I like jumped and like fist pumped because it was like it was just such a sick moment of like, holy shit, oh my god. Those are the moments that make match point finals. Like the reason that I will always dislike the Open is not even because of a lot of the stuff that happened. That moment didn't exist. There was no, oh my gosh, this team almost won, but they didn't. And we're going one more game. And like you have renewed hope that the team that you want to win is going to do it now, you know? Like those moments make tournaments. So it was crazy. I love that it happened. It's a shame for Falcons. I would have loved to see Guild get the win. It would have been really cool to see them have like that most dominant victory ever. But it was so exciting when it happened in the crowd, bro.
I think when Guild's on match point now, that's just like that Vietnam meme playing in his head. Like fucking that man, he has 3 second place finishes, 2022, 2023, and now 2026.
Three different teams.
Three
too.
different
Like,
teams.
That's crazy.
And I think he has 2 top 4s. Like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? Could you imagine being him? Like, that's gonna be such a numbing feeling.
Oh, dude. It's Waltzy's face after that game 7-2 where
Yeah,
he's
they
just
were-
staring. He's just staring. Like that's
think he
a
knew.
meme reaction
Yeah.
photo.
Because I mean, imagine being in Waltzy's position where it's like your crypto EMP got destroyed, and then like you basically just died to zone and caustic gas. Like you know that like, dang, dude, I'm sure in that moment he's sitting there feeling like I could have done so much more, and we probably went.
Do you know,
Mhm.
Jay? I listened to the comms from like I haven't listened to the whole game, but listen to the end game comms. Do you know if Hot Dog knew that was Falcons? Because I know you said like they knew they couldn't win the game as a duo.
So
I have not been able to determine if they knew it was Falcons or not.
I talked to Skittle on the shuttle to the airport when we were leaving, and he implied that they did. He didn't like directly flat out say that they did, but he implied that they knew like Falcons are still alive.
Okay.
I don't know if they knew which team was Falcons, but they knew the Falcons were alive, and I'm assuming they figured it out when they saw the crypto.
Okay,
but
yeah.
once
Because I wasn't
again,
sure if like because you said that I was like maybe you talked to someone and like you found that out.
yeah, Skittle implied because I remember I asked him because there was that moment where on the height Alb hops in the Trident, and I was like, what was Alb's plan there? And Al, apparently, according to Skittle, he was just trying to stall and buy time. But I thought what Alb was about to do, and if he did this and it worked, it would have been insane. I thought he was going to get in the Trident, drop down, and ram them into zone and just like launch them as far as possible. And then I was like, if this happens, like this is a video in itself. Is like Alb is trying to grief Falcons from winning and yeets them into zone to give Fnatic the win. It didn't end up happening, but
he said he was gonna. His calm was that he was gonna. I think he was gonna use it to try and like jump and hover above, because like Bo could fly, and
he's just trying to buy time. Yeah,
hover above.
That's what Skittle told me.
Yeah, the car that lost the biggest tournament part 2.
Damn.
Could you imagine if it dropped and he does that?
Just imagine, like they had the camera angle when he got into it. Literally looked like we're like a Fast and Furious movie, and he's like revving the engines. Like
everyone in the crowd thought the same thing was gonna happen.
Yeah,
because like I had people next to me saying he's gonna drop down and bump him out of the zone.
Yeah, I literally was like, he's gonna ram him, he's gonna hit him. And
to be fair, he could have done that with everyone. They all probably just broke it really fast, but like he could have gone down there and just started spinning his mouse and trying to fucking
imagine. It would have been so sick. I wish
it would have been incredible. It would have been an incredible moment. Jumba, did you have anything to add on to Falcons?
Yeah, I think the thing is like, I mean, you guys said it. It was like most dominant before. Like if they got 1-1-1 first to match point, it's like the most dominant performance. The only thing that was like really interesting about like their gameplay throughout the tournament is that they would start off like insanely hot and then always have like 2 games in their set where they get like 1 point or like 1 game where they get 0 points. And it's just like, what's going on there? And it kind of like happened in finals too, but that was like after the game 7 game, which I talked to a lot of pros before and heard that like once you have that moment where like you're so close, trying to regain the momentum to get to one of those moments again is actually very difficult, is what they say. So, yeah, it's just like, I mean, there's not much else to say. I other than I guess I should say, yeah, Guild, Waltzy, both had amazing tournaments, but I think that was Hal's best tournament he's ever played. It was
incredible. It was truly incredible to watch.
Yeah. And sometimes I wonder though, because like it didn't feel like sometimes we often have like 2 juggernauts in a tournament. We didn't. It felt like it was Falcons and Falcons only. So I wonder if maybe it stands out that much more because no one else was having like such a monster tournament, or maybe it stands out that much more because Hal's tournament was just that monstrous. I don't know. Like, yeah, I'd have to look more close at the numbers, but like his whole year 5, Hal was on a different level. He really was. It was probably like, I don't know. I'd have to look at compared to previous years, but Hal year 5, I think was his best performance ever.
Year 3, Hal first, second, first. I don't know, man.
Well, the first, second, first for performance, but I mean like individual metrics I'm talking about. Like, I'm not talking about like...
that was also, I think, because I feel like the only tough part that with this year is the midseason playoffs, like Falcons didn't really do that great. Also, the stats are probably weird because of the way the tournaments were different this year. So he might have more total kills because like the Open had so many rounds.
I wasn't doing total kills. I was going KD with everything because of the fact of like...
I feel like it's got to be year 3 because year 3, the Hal comes down from the Heavens tournament. They like destroyed everybody that tournament. And then he sucked in Pro League for year 2, but then they clutched up and made it. And then that LAN, remember, they were destroying everyone in that LAN too. Like they hit match point in 3 games. And then the champs won. You know, it was once again kind of a struggle, but I think he led that finals and like with like
he did lead the finals. I remember, but that's what I was saying. Like, because like I remember they were just lucking into like not lucking in, but like they were always like on the brink of elimination and then found a way to do it, as opposed to like. It felt like this year outside the
it wasn't as
playoffs.
Clean, but in terms of like the stats, I don't know the actual numbers, but I feel like year 3 Hal might have been better.
Maybe.
Great time from Falcons. Like I said, it was incredible to watch. Obviously, they wanted to win it. They come up a little bit short. Oblivion takes it, but it still was an impressive performance. Boys, what I'm going to do right now is we're going to take a quick break, and then on the other side, I want to talk about some of the biggest surprises from this tournament. Players, teams, whatever it may be, people who did a little bit better, people who you'd have expected to do better. Let's take a quick break and get into the biggest surprises. All right, ladies and gents, let's get into some of the other big surprises here. There were some players and teams that did really, really well. And then there's some players and teams that we would have expected to do a little bit better. I think the other big surprise here was E36. E36 came out and they dominated. They did really, really well. Dawn, when you look at E36 as a whole, and we had the E36 hat inside the studio. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they did so well. What did you see from E36 that was impressive for you?
Well, I'll say Kyle maybe isn't as big a fan as is E36, but that's just Kyle's fault. So,
do you have the Complexity and Furia hats still?
Yeah,
bro. That's 3 of the top 4 teams.
If
Monsoon,
you consider Pro Gaming,
Keon, E36. Like, well, yeah, obviously Fury's not in, but in terms of the roots, maybe there's a hat buff going on.
There's a hat buff?
Wow.
Is there a hat buff?
Wow. You know what? It only took years to kick
sitting
in.
right behind me.
It took years to kick in. He bought all of these last year.
Yeah.
Or no, like
maybe.
2 years
And
ago.
I definitely didn't buy the E36 one because they were sick camo. That's definitely not why.
Who do you
So
want to
don't say
see
that.
win in like year 7? Maybe pre-plan and buy a hat in Vegas.
Yeah, it really
saying.
comes down to logos. I mean, that's if you want to win,
gotta
get signed to an
like,
org
who
with
are
a
you
sick
gonna
logo.
be? Who are you going to be a diehard fan of like a year or 2 from now? You got to really project here and buy a hat now. I think you got to get in early.
Yeah,
you do. But yeah, for E36 though, I mean, just some numbers for you guys to kind of talk about how just special this tournament was from these guys. They had the best average placement of any team throughout the entire tournament, which they averaged 7th place per game, which is insane at this level. They had the most wins of any team, which was 6. In 33 of their games, they finished top 10, 26 of those.
Yeah.
Which is an insane clip, to say the least. That's almost 80% for people that want the percentage.
Yeah, their walkout stat, like they said, 75% of their top 10s, they get top 5. And it was like, what? Or no, it's just 75% of their games, they get top 10, which is insane. But continue.
Absolutely insane. Again, they get the 3rd place overall, which unfortunately, they lose out in the tiebreaker. But then for their finals, because some people obviously might have been focused on Falcons or whatever, they're outside of game 1 in finals, they finished no lower than 8th place. Game 2, they were 8th, and then 3rd, 6th, 5th, 1st, 8th, 3rd, 6th. Like, you want to talk about a team that came from insane. We jumped on TSM and made them lose a final to this type of consistent performance is honestly incredible strides from these guys. And it was so cool to see an APAC North team really put a good foot forward, really do a great job of playing the game differently than, going out like Unlimited and got all these kills, but they weren't really like a major factor on match point. Like, these guys were in it. We're in almost every situation for the final end game. I mean, again, it started from the group stages. It carried over to the finals. It was just overall an awesome performance to watch. Again, they maybe get a little unlucky to not win it with how well they played, and there was a couple of situations where they were that third place they got. They just unfortunately were in the worst possible position of that final end zone when they had a literal ledge basically protecting them, and that's all they had. But yeah, it was awesome to watch. I mean, again, everyone talked about Falcons that day 1. E36 won 3 games in that first lobby. That Falcons was going crazy. So it was awesome to see. And I know Jay had brought up to me too a really cool Reddit post that was put out there. So if you guys want a little more info or a little more detail about some of that stuff, make sure you guys go check that out. But yeah, it was, again, just for how APAC North was kind of viewed heading into this tournament, where no one really expected any of their teams to really compete to win. To have a team that legitimately had a shot to win was, I mean, again, it was just another detail that made this LAN so special.
Was there, so for anybody else, obviously E36 was one of them, but I guess I'll throw it to Jumbo first. The biggest surprise for you.
Real quick, before we move on from E36, I do want to shout out, Don brought up that Reddit post. I responded to it because the Reddit post is hyping up E36 and how like great of a LAN they had. I don't think enough people are talking about this. I wasn't even fully aware of this because I don't really like pay attention as much to APAC North Pro League as I do some of the other regions in terms of like the full structure of all the teams. Just for anybody listening, APAC North Pro League is like 99% Japanese players. There are literally in this last Pro League 5 total Korean players that were actively participating, and 3 of them are on the E36 roster. The other 2 were on Japanese-speaking rosters with majority Japanese players. And so whenever Reject won, I was really taken aback by Oblie's answer when I asked him why they picked up Sang Jun. And he didn't say this to like not hype up his boy, but he literally said there was no other options because there's not a lot of talent in Korea. And there's not a Korean server, which I know gets brought up a lot in this conversation, just maybe why there's not like a lot of super high level competitors coming out of Korea. But like literally the only two like rising stars to come out of that region in some time are Sinap and Illy. And then Jusna has been like a veteran for quite a long time that like has had good performances, but never was like up to that level. And I'm pretty sure, but I think Obli had placed top 10 3 times, including his win. No other Korean team had ever placed top 10 until this moment, and they placed third, and they almost won the whole dang thing. Like, they literally tied Falcons in terms of points in the finals. That's how well they did. So if you feel like Falcons was doing that good in the finals, E36 was right there with them, like going blow for blow. The only other team besides Falcons and Oblivion to actually get into an end game with a chance to like potentially win the whole thing. Like, that's how crazy they were. And I just think these guys deserve a massive amount of respect, because I just think it's not easy to be a professional Apex player coming from Korea right now, especially if you want to, like, if you don't want to have to learn Japanese. Imagine that being the prospect of your career is, I have to basically learn Japanese if I want to compete, because there's just nobody from Korea. This is the only team that is, and they performed that well. And like Don said, they were the team that everybody clowned, because back when SSG won in Mannheim, they're on the ultimate height and they like swanton bombed off to kill TSM, which I will say to all the TSM copers, TSM was never going to win that game. I don't care what happens.
It just wasn't happening.
Anyway, because if E36 plays it as you want them to, they just sit on height and then they win the game.
Yeah,
they win the game. So to the TSM copers, TSM wasn't winning that finals. Maybe E36 wins the game and they go win like the next one.
I still believe TSM wins that final, but anyway.
That's crazy.
Maybe they win the final.
There's no way you actually think
that game.
They had to climb an entire fence, and while they're lunging over the fence, everyone shoots them.
SSG's just gonna kill them. Like,
everyone just
the only
shoots them
three
as they
teams
climb
that
that
could have
fence.
win that game is E36 if they maintain the height, SSG because of what happened, or Alliance if Hawkes just doesn't like zip line off, into zone. So, but anyway, E36, man, they deserve a ton of respect. Like Don brought up with all those stats, like they were on one the entire tournament, and I just think the fact that they are literally like Korea's last hope is just not being talked about enough. It is so impressive to me how well those guys have progressed, because from that moment where everybody was clowning them, because all they wanted in that moment was to not get 20th, because them getting 19th secured them champs last year, where they had that massive pop off, like 21 kill game in the bracket stage to go to finals, where it was that like iconic shot of, I think it was Illy, arms stretched out wide from behind, just like celebrating like crazy. They didn't do that great in the finals. And then all of a sudden this year, they've kind of progressed even more to the point where now, like they were legitimately like one of the 3 teams that could have taken the whole damn thing. Like that progression that they've been on over the last year has been super impressive. And those guys are sick. They're really good at the game.
My dark horse.
I mean, before you even went on your whole rant, Jay, I was simply just going to say we need more Korean teams. I'm just going to say that. We do, but
bro, imagine if APAC North Pro League was like half Korean, because the Koreans, I brought this up on the broadcast after one of the points, because it was after E36, I think it already hit match point. Although we don't have a lot of Koreans, the fact that the 2 notable Korean teams we have had, one of them won one of the most important victories in terms of the narrative of Apex history. And then now we have this E36 team that just got top 3 at like one of the biggest event that we've ever had. Like,
if Apex was a bigger esport in Korea, all other regions and countries would be fucked.
Yeah, like think of if like Faker was over here playing Apex, like we'd be done for.
Any esport,
like Korea would run this shit.
Any esport that has a dominant Korean like player base is dominated by the Koreans. Like, it's like Overwatch was like, it was a wash. There was no one who was good. They had a whole NA league, and you'd have like the Dallas Fuel, and it's just a bunch of Koreans living in fucking Dallas.
They brought the Koreans over to the US
because they tried having North American players. I know very little about like Overwatch, but from what I remember, they had North American players and like people representing the areas, and there was one Korean team, and they just kept winning. So then they just kept surrounding Korean players everywhere else. Right?
Like, well, if we can't beat them,
we need the Koreans. Yeah, and then same thing with League, right? Like, it's just all Koreans. Like, so That's yeah. NA
So
would be done.
shameless plug. If anybody has any sway at Respawn or EA is listening to this, please get a Korean server. Like, what are we doing, man?
Please,
How
seems
are
like
you
a
not
very-
I
giving
want
guys a server?
T1 in Apex, please.
Like,
I want them back. And if there's more Korean players, that only increases the odds to bring them in.
what are we doing, man? Like, that's one of the few countries that like actually loves esports, and you're not gonna give them a server, bro. Like, they're nasty at the game. We have like 2 notable Korean teams ever, and they're both disgusting. Like, give them a server,
Seoul LAN. What if we just get Seoul LAN
dude.
after
that-
Japan?
That'd be big. That'd be big.
I feel like we'll never do it for the simple
Yeah.
fact that we don't have a
One
massive
team.
Korean presence. But imagine if like Seoul would go so hard.
Mhm. So that was one of the other major surprise. I don't even know if you could call it a surprise, but I mean they were kind of tearing up Pro League, but that doesn't always translate.
Well,
So
no, they weren't viewed as like a legit contender to win this LAN. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I saw a single tier list that was putting them as like a true like this team is going to go place top 5. There's no
Mhm.
way. So
yeah,
they're
I
surprising
think the
in
only
that
one
way.
that was there, I had him as dark horse. That was it, but I didn't have him in like the top 5. I didn't put him
Yeah.
in like the ultimate thing. Now
Shout
some
out
other
to you. Great
surprises.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any surprises, Jumba, that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, like, do we want happy surprises or bad surprises?
Let's do a bad one. Let's do a bad one.
Do we want to go with Shopify or do we want to go with Team Liquid?
I have bias on this, so I'll let Jay answer.
Let's talk Team Liquid. Yeah,
first.
I was gonna
Yeah.
like
Okay, all
same
right.
time. I knew
He's
he was gonna
saving
say
it.
it. Let's
All
talk.
right,
They
he's
got
saving
eliminated first.
They got
too,
that's
so-
exactly why they got eliminated round 1 because like
Yeah.
that's the big surprise. I think we even had them as wild card and we discussed it with them that like it could happen until like then after I think it was maybe it was the tier list with Jay or maybe it was our last like thing and I was like we got to like make sure we give credit to the fact that Sykes Funk have been there and almost won and then it's 0 so like they're always a can win team. But Elim round 1 I never would have thought. Never would have thought. I don't know.
I didn't even think they'd miss finals. Like,
Yeah.
bro, it's 0. Like, yeah, he's missed finals in the past, but like Sykes, I feel like people, and obviously this is weird now because we've seen what happened. Like, the result was way worse than expected. But going into the LAN, I was surprised at some people that were doubting them so hard for the sole fact that I was like, Sykes and Funk on LG with Sweet almost won twice.
Yeah.
Like, they almost won 2 LANs. EWC the first time when Alliance won, and then Champs
third
last
there.
year. It's them and Go Next in the final fight versus VP. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they were right there. And then you add 0, who's an upgrade. Like, in terms of just on paper, the roster, it should have worked. And clearly it didn't. I will say, I don't know why Funk is on crypto, man. Like, I think this will forever be Zero's Achilles heel. He has to either he has to commit when he picks a roster to finding a crypto player, or he's got to drop the ego and play crypto. Because putting Funk on crypto, I mean, it just doesn't make sense for Funk. It doesn't make sense for the team. That's not like Funk's strengths are the polar opposite of what a crypto player needs to be good at. Like, he is good at fragging and like sometimes you got to reel him in a little bit. But crypto, I mean, you're just like having a comm and like read out information and like read like openings. That's not what Funk does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Don, we talked a lot about the Liquid thing as it was going on, but from your perspective, I know you brought up what Jay was talking about a bunch of times. Like, it just didn't make sense. But also, when it was just me, you, and Jumba and Enoch on the episode before the LAN started, we all kind of had like this little inkling, like there's a world where things don't go well. And a lot of it had to do with like the fact that a lot of these rosters had already kind of been locked when we knew that Falcons was going to be splitting apart. It was not going to be easy to create a roster, but we all had this feeling like this could, there's a chance that this doesn't go well. So what did you see from Team Liquid?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was any surprise with the way that they were scrimming and the way kind of things came together, even with the roster, that there was that door that was open that, things could go bad. I think a lot of us, the go bad would have been losers round 2. I don't think a lot of us obviously expected them to go out first. But yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show,
especially winning a game, by the way, in that line.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you really would have thought the momentum would have carried them into that last game. But yeah, I think it goes to show that role fit matters in Apex. that you can't just throw any 3 players together, no matter how much the pedigree they have, and it's going to be perfect. Sure, there's going to be rosters that, you assume will be better than a lot of them based on the names that are on paper, but this is a prime example of that. Again, role fit matters, personalities in a team matter. There's just a lot more things than just throwing 3 random players together and practicing, a little bit together and then expecting things to go really well. It just never really seemed like from the start this is really going to go that well. Like we mentioned with Funk being on crypto, we had this bad feeling from the beginning. I don't really have another way to explain it, just besides, again, he really, going into this next year, I'm really curious to see what Zero decides to do with his roster, because I'm sure, again, there's a lot of stuff out of his control, in terms of who he could pick, but you really got to think that this crypto thing is going to be a huge thing on his mind moving forward to make sure that that's locked in. But overall, it just was never, it just always felt clunky. It never felt like it really was going to work that well.
I actually didn't get to see them play because we were working, so I didn't watch the first 2 days of groups because I just didn't have the ability to. And then I got to watch the one set. And then in the one set, I think I walked away for game 6, and then I came back 5 minutes into the start of game 6 and they were dead. I was like, there's no fucking way I missed all of that. Never got to see them play.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of it you could just tell. It's just, timings of swings, timings of comms, who should be calming what at what time. I mean, there were so many times, I think I even mentioned it while we were watching. I was like, have we heard Zero even calm anything in the past 45 seconds? I can't remember a time on any team that Zero's been on where he has these periods where you're not hearing him calm something, just because he's obviously the IGL. So they should be the one saying, look this way, that way, we're doing this, whatever. But it was just, there was just so much information coming from Funk. And it's I know he's at the crypto, but eventually the IGL has to be able to say something. And I just always feel like that's been a criticism of Funk, is that when he does calm, it can tend to be just a bunch of run-on sentences that don't allow the IGL to get information in when he needs to. So that's just, I guess, a prime example of that. Again, it's just these personalities just never really seem to be able to fit very well. The characters' roles just never fit well, and then we just don't have all that time to practice your timings of swings, and when you want to do this, do that. It just all was clunky, and unless they all were firing, there was this result could potentially happen. But again, losers round 1 was, I think, far worse than I think a lot of us still thought it would be.
Now, for another surprise, I think I just gave that one to Jumba. Don, for you, was there a pleasant surprise, a team or a player that came out that you were excited to see or were hyped about when we were watching this thing?
I think for me, I was actually pleasantly surprised to see how Legacy did. I truly did not have, and I knew Jay was going to like that. I was really pleasantly surprised to see that those boys were able to bring it back. Again, we had seen it in the past, and I think we even said a lot in the pod, if we saw that past version, they could be really good. But we just had not seen it for so long. During scrims, they're still trying to figure out who the hell is playing crypto, who's doing this, who's doing that. And it's just man, you got to get to a point where you're practicing the characters. So you need to be playing at this tournament in 2 weeks. But then it has come out, man. It's man, this is the team that we remember. These are the guys that, they're winning fights. But even with this team, I was really impressed with just how well they continued to place throughout the tournament. Because I think when I was looking through a lot of the numbers, they were one of the best placing teams at the tournament, which we usually just know purely just for kills. But I mean, they were getting to a lot of end games. I know the finals didn't necessarily go the way that they wanted it to, but I mean, Yanya was, I believe, 3rd or 4th in kills of the tournament. I mean, it was man, if we get this team back and we see them play this well going into year 6, it's just another team that's just going to add on to some of these other teams we might see. And I think that was just a cool kind of nostalgia moment that we got was seeing these boys come back and be the more of a prime version that we were used to seeing. Because this is really the first time that we really saw this version of this team when there's been legend bans and no contesting, and all of that. So it was really cool to see that they finally were able to kind of make that adjustment to maybe a little bit more of the newer era of Apex.
Jay, those were your boys. You were hyped for Legacy.
Listen, this has been a recurring theme for years, all right? I'll go into the full thing because I couldn't do this on the broadcast, but there was a little moment where Legacy won an endgame. Jumbo was on the desk with us, and I specifically told Snipe, I was like, I want to take this game because I want to talk about them, because Snipe was supposed to take that game, but so we swapped because I wanted to talk about them. All right, so this stems back to, you remember when they first contested Optic for Stacks, when they were still LG? This is year 3. Split 2 playoff or Split 2 Pro League, right? They contest Optic for Stacks. They lose. There's like that one match day before regional finals where they're like having to run away, and Optic is chasing them into Siphon, and it got bad. And going into regional finals, they were in a position where they were going to miss LAN, and they had to land landslide and play hard zone, and they clutched up. I think they got like 3rd on the day, and they made it to LAN. That was the first moment where I was like, all right, people are saying like this team's not going to make it. I remember on that, like I was watch partying, and I was like, I think they're going to do it. I know that everybody thinks they're an edge team and like they're playing at a landslide. I just think they're going to do it. They're too good not to make LAN. They did it, right? But that was also like peak version of those guys. So it was a little more believable to see them do that. Then going into the next year, I remember I was on Fallout and Snipes' show. You remember when they had that Apex After Hours? And they got dropped by LG. Sweet takes the org. And for some reason, I can't remember what, we were talking about, who do you guys think is going to be like the biggest disappointment coming into this Pro League? And they were not doing good in scrims at all. And I vividly remember Fallout and I think Snipe both picking them to be the team that it's like, I think this is it. It's done. The collapse is here. Everybody's saying it on Reddit. This is not me trying to flame Fallout and Snipe for the take, because it was a popular take at the time. And I was like, I just don't agree with this. Like, these guys were so good last year. I'm pretty sure they had gotten 5th at that championship where TSM won back-to-back-to-back. Like, how are we? Because in preseason scrims, they're not doing good. Lo and behold, they didn't fall off at all. They go to the next LAN, Sweet misses finals, and they still made it, all right? They were still popping off. Then it continues to happen. Over time, it just seems like people keep saying the wheels are finally falling off, the team's over, they're done for, and it's not going to happen. When you look at their entire careers, Yanya has never missed a LAN finals, ever. Jaguares and Niazul, the only one they missed, the Open. They got 28th. So they barely missed it. They were in the losers finals and they missed that one. Otherwise, these guys, like, I said it to Don, and I wish I was like, it's funny because when we look back at our tier list, I was like, if Don was a little like more like heavy-handed on Oblivion and I was a little more heavy-handed on Legacy, then we would have probably put them both in the finals.
Sick. We
both almost like conceded to each other, because I was doubting Oblivion and I think Don was doubting Legacy, right?
Yeah.
And so, which obviously mine looks a little worse because, you know,
Oblivion did.
Legacy got 16th in the finals, right? But regardless, ultimately my point was these guys always clutch up. I don't care what the situation is, they always clutch up. When you think that they're done for, it's the call an ambulance, but not for me, you know? They're never the team that's going to like go out when you think they are. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that, well, Monsoon and Fun want to LAN, so I'm never going to say never. But I'm not going to sit here and ever put them right now in like true contenders, because the last like handful of LANs, they haven't placed top 10 in over a year. You know, they got 16th in this finals, but for some reason, people just keep doubting them and think the wheels are finally going to fall off, and it just never does. When these guys' backs are against the wall, they always show up. So they always make finals. Shout out Legacy.
I'll kick it off with another surprise. I'm probably gonna have to wear this one. Shopify Rebellion. They made finals.
You cursed them.
They made finals.
You cursed them.
They didn't get first or second. Didn't really get third or fourth. Not fifth. Not sixth. Not seventh. Not eighth. Not ninth. Definitely not 10th. 11th, no. 12th, no. 13th, no. 14th, no. 15th, almost. 16th, no. 17th, no. 18th, almost. 19th place. Shopify Rebellion.
You discussed
I said there's no way they don't win this tournament. And there was a way, actually. And we just saw it. So that the 2 times I predicted them in a tournament setting, because remember, I did predict them to win Pro League or something. I don't remember what it was. I'm so tired right now.
Didn't you
It's
pick them to
probably-
win midseason playoffs and then they didn't make finals?
Yeah.
Correct.
There's
So I think
only
that
there's only one
There's-
thing we can do here.
I was gonna say. Okay, you go say what
You
you're
have to
say,
buy a Shopify hat.
Let's
Let me
look.
see.
Let me look at
do
them.
they have
Let
a
me
do they
look
have a
at
them.
website?
Yeah,
I'll look it up
Does
right now.
Shopify have a
And-
website? Does Shopify have a
And I also-
website? Hold on. Does
Shopify would
Shopify have a
have-
website?
I
I
just said
bet
was-
it.
Bro,
I bet it
I'm the
works
guy
off.
who wears the bike helmet in the fucking Benchwarmers movie.
I
that's
wonder.
right.
I
That's
wonder.
how I feel right
Let's
now.
scroll to the bottom and see if this is
Yeah.
powered by Shopify.
Listen, because I'm not going to be here for future episodes, routinely like you guys. Can we all agree right here, right now? And Don and Jump, I need you to hold them accountable to this. You're never allowed to predict Shopify to win again.
Why not?
Bro, what do you mean, why not?
What did
Look
I
at
do?
this. They went from winning Mannheim, placing top 5 at Champs, to top 5 at the Open. You hop on the train, they miss finals, and then they get 19th. What
So
do
I got
you
bad-
mean, why not?
So I
they
got
they
bad
won Pro
news.
League though. They won Pro League, but like, see,
They won
that's
Pro
the
League, but
outlier.
when you pick
not
them to
the
win
norm.
LAN, are you
That's
kidding
the
me?
outlier, not the norm. Anyways, continue. You were saying.
So they have a lot
Can
of
we
stuff.
agree on this?
None of those are hats. They have a beanie, but I don't think that plays.
You're not a
'Cause-
beanie guy.
I'm not a beanie guy.
You're really not.
I'm not a beanie guy, so they might just be fucked. Like
What?
they
There's a
might,
guy
stop.
wearing.
it might
a,
be over.
There's a guy
Just-
wearing a hat. Why do they not sell that hat?
I know he has the hat on.
the
That's the
Halo
crazy part.
guy.
Their jerseys
Wait,
are
no,
sick.
there is a hat. Oh no,
Where?
No,
there's not.
it's not. You're
I'm
looking at the
looking at the
king of the
shirts.
drift oversized T-shirt.
He's wearing a shirt
Wearing
and
the
he's
hat.
got the hat on. They don't sell the hat.
They
What
don't
is
sell the
this,
hat.
man?
So Shopify might be dead, but as far as how the team
Socks?
played, I guess I could rock some Shopify
No,
socks.
it has to be a hat or nothing, bro. Like,
Should I
I'm
reach
scrolling through
out?
Everything.
Yeah.
You got DM them and say,
You
hey,
should.
do you guys sell hats? Because clearly, this is the only way to bounce back here. From
I
what
don't
you've
think.
done.
Yeah, I think they might just be done. I said I was
No.
going to retire it last time. I don't think I'm done yet. I think I want to. I think I want to do it again. I think I want to do it again.
For us having any chance to get any of them on any future shows, we cannot let you pick them anymore.
Wyatt, don't let anyone tell you what to do.
Okay.
Because Jumba's saying that because he also picked Shopify.
First time.
Do you-
First time. I've been Falcons all year.
Do you
I
feel
think Falcons all year.
satisfied? Do you feel satisfied ruining these young men's careers?
I just felt like there was no way that they wouldn't win this thing. And not only did they not
You
win it,
picked them. That alone was a way that they weren't going to win. I
yeah.
remember you even texted me. Was it the day before the finals? And you were like, nothing's because Bo Nix happened, right? And you were like, nothing in my life is going right. And you said Monsoon's going to get 20. He's going to get dead last tomorrow. And I said, no, he's not. Shopify is.
Add it to the back
And
tat.
look what happened, man. Look what you did. And you want to know what's crazy too? I was aware of the curse, and they asked me who to pick for the winner before the tournament even started. And for some reason, I was stupid and picked them.
Yeah, that was the
why
funny
did I
part.
test the curse? Why
Yeah,
did I
you
test
tested it. You tested that curse.
Maybe you cursed him.
You rode along with me and you
No,
tested the
no,
curse.
no,
Oh
because
my
I don't have
God.
the track record Wyatt does. I have teams that I've picked and they've actually won.
He has done good on some of those predictions. So
I don't know. Jay picked SAU well
When-
in the set that
when
they got
Hal
like 20
came down
points.
from the heavens, I picked TSM to win that LAN, and I have tweets that prove it.
Yeah,
I
but you weren't
picked,
really known at that time, so
Still
Damn.
did it. I said Boney was going to win LAN for like a year and a half.
Still did it.
yeah. Okay.
He said.
we got. Well,
still did
you know, Jay doesn't want to man up and talk about the fact that he's been on broadcasting. Zion was the best player in the world for like
Listen,
the last year.
What
I already did the
happened?
hands up for the Oblivion thing. Hands up. The answer was Hal all along. It always was. It just is what it is.
What went wrong for Shopify? Like, what actually happened? Does anybody know?
In terms of actual gameplay stuff, I think playing fundamental Edge this LAN was really hard. What I mean by that is there's this really weird form of Edge that existed at this LAN where it was like the Genjis and the Unlimits, where they're not running ring console characters. They're running like Crypto, Maggie, Bang, like all these kind of characters. I can't remember who Unlimited because they didn't play Crypto. But they're running like that kind of group of characters.
Seer, some of them have Seer.
And they're just running people over. Like when I talked to all the teams playing Zone, they legitimately were like, Skittle said this one line on the bus where he was like, sometimes you just get chosen and it's over. He said the Edge team just chooses you and the game's over. It is what it is. And so the fundamental Edge teams, because Alliance also didn't do good, and I think this is kind of helping prove the point. The teams that tried to play like the foundational Edge, they're running into those kind of teams, and it just wasn't working. And because those kind of teams like the Unlimited and Genjis existed, just terrorizing you, all the Zone teams were so much quicker to react. Like that finals lobby might have been the fastest teams were getting into positions in Zone. And so, and on top of that, like the Valk picks being played where teams were able to just like yeet into Zone like way easier. I just think like the teams that try to play fundamental Edge this LAN just kind of, it just didn't work. I think there was too many of them that were trying to do it, mixed in with too many teams that are playing like the chaotic version of Edge. So I just think Edge just wasn't a good time to be an Edge team at this LAN.
I think a good example of a game is it was a finals game. It was something like game 6. It was a game where Falcons died early, but they had hit match point. And there's so many people that I've talked to about this game. It's when they die in like Cedo, and Unlimit kills them. And there's so many people that are like, well, yeah, you know what? Like teams like Unlimit knew where Falcons would be rotating from and that they could kill them there. And so I think that they were targeting them to find them. I heard that take like when I was sitting in the crowd, everyone's like, they knew it was Falcons. I heard that take after talking to people. I was like, Falcons come from Echo. None of these teams are like, they're going through Cedo for this. They were just running over anyone who was not in Zone already. That's all it was. Yeah. Like, that's what I was trying to explain.
They literally negative rotated that game from down beast to go kill Oblivion. Got thirded by E36. Should have died. Pieces out, pun intended. Falcons, I talked to Hal. He said they saw him going to Cenote, and they were like, whatever. We don't care. He's a solo. And then little did they know they should have cared because he respawns his boys and they negative rotate even further to go third in Cedo.
That's what I'm saying. It was like, chaotic. Everyone's like, like the fact that everyone's like trying. I'm not saying Unlimited doesn't got the ability to like predict that. I've never listened to their comms. I don't understand them. But like freaking, I was just like in this moment, Falcons at Cedo coming from Echo, like they're just killing the team that they see. All it is.
Yeah, no, this isn't like Unlimit big braining the shit out of it. This is Unlimit like, let's go kill some people, and you happen to be the team in front of us. Like Skittle said, you just got chosen. It is what, and those guys are really good at fighting.
Oh,
so unfortunately for you, they're gonna win when they choose you. So yeah, I think that it's screwed over the fundamental Edge teams.
Well, there's even like that World's Edge game too, where Falcons had like that giant rock outside of Monument, and Unlimit had started to go up towards like the other choke that wasn't like the tunnel behind them. And because I remember watching like, like Falcons is good because that's the only thing I was worried about. But all of a sudden they go back to Falcons and they're fighting Unlimited. I'm like, did they just negative rotate in like third ring to come fight them? And the answer was yes. It was just like, like you guys said, like they're just, you just unfortunately just have a homing beacon, I guess, and they just find you. And because, I mean, for the fact that Falcons somehow ran into basically one of two teams that they did not want to fight at that stage of the game twice. It's just, it's like Skittle said, you are somehow getting chosen by the Apex gods to run into this juggernaut of a fighting team.
Literally, look at the bottom 10, or even actually, if we include Unlimited 10th, look at the standings in terms of like, who would you say are the true Edge teams? Unlimited gets 10th, Supernova gets 11th, Alliance gets 14th, Genji gets 15th, Legacy gets 16th, Shopify got 19th. Even SBI, historically more of a zone team, the pop-off games they had, they were playing Edge in the groups, and then it just doesn't work in the finals. Like, I really just think this LAN was just not a good time to be an Edge team. I know that maybe is for the fans who want like a more specific, like Shopify, we're arguing and everything is breaking down and they hate each other now. And they had I just think Edge it wasn't a good time to play Edge, truly.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes
that was the
that's what it
pivot
comes down
Falcons
to.
made in the finals.
I was watching
they
a
were
little
playing
bit
a lot
of
of Edge early. When they got to the finals, they're in zone like super early.
I was watching a little bit of privacy talk about Shopify yesterday, and something he was saying was like about their rotations. Like they're just saying like they weren't good at rotating. Could be like similar, like maybe the reason was because they know those other teams are on this edge and they don't want to encounter them, so they're trying to find like the path of least resistance to get in. The only thing is I didn't watch long enough, and the one game where he talked about like where he was talking about this was a game where their rotation, he said it would be bad. They actually played it very, very good. So it was a little bit difficult for me because like he's saying it's bad, but they're kind of farming right now. So I don't know. I'd have to like VOD review more. Have not got a chance to watch any Shopify VODs yet.
Yeah, I will say one other thing too, just real quick, because there was something because he brought privacy stream. He also mentioned too, or at least there was an example. I think it was Zach Mazer was talking about it. That just like their comms in that last like final, when you've got an IGL that like is still finding his way as an IGL, and there's just such a flood of comms. It's so hard to make a decision in these finals lobbies where everything is like, to the second you have to be on top of your game. There's definitely some fights that just like all three guys are trying to say something, and it's just like, I mean, you're just never to be that successful when you are trying to make a plan, or you're trying to choose whether to fight or to back up or whatever the case is, and there's just three different people with three different ideas. You're just not going to be that successful. And I think another part of like, it was a bad time to be an Edge team was like, even when they were trying to rotate or they were trying to like come up with a plan, there's just, you can't have like so many comms go on at one time with someone that's still working his way through IGLing. So I just think too, having like a little bit more of an experienced IGL with a couple players that do say a lot of comms, it was just kind of a bad mix at that time, because you could just tell like by the end of finals, they just kind of were all over the place when it came to what fight they were trying to take or what rotate they wanted to do or where the case is. But they also too just got unlucky sometimes too, because there was that E-District game where they try to fly in. One of those buildings has a single person in it. That single person just happens to be Imperial Al, who has Maggie Ball, who has his Maggie Qs, and they also have Crypto EMP, because Falcons is holding like 3 buildings in draft point, and they try to fly in there, which is the right play, but then they just get absolutely bombarded with all of Falcons util, and it's just like, how do you survive that? Like, you're not. There's just a couple of modes too. They just got super unlucky in that final, because I remember hearing the comm after, he was just like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. And I just think it just kind of got to the point where even their good ideas eventually just weren't working, because of they just happened to run into the wrong circumstance at the wrong time. So it was a little bit of luck, a little bit of what Jay said with the Edge thing, a little bit of the comms thing. It just, unfortunately, was just one of those days where the recipe did not cook very well.
Yeah, and another, you guys were mentioning Unlimited a little bit earlier. I wanted to talk about them as a surprise, but I also wanted to bring them up just because I felt like Jay had like a really good breakdown of Unlimited for the future, for like their continued success, if they want continued success. And Jay, I kind of wanted you to go through that again, because I had a fun time watching Unlimited. Our boy Kyle lost 14 straight Prize Picks bets, and by the end of it, he just kept betting on Unlimited over and over and over again.
Them?
No, he's betting overs on him, and he couldn't hit. And so he finally, the funniest part was he bet an over on Peace at 2 kills. The first 3 games, they were complete and utter ass. And then the next game, the bet ends, because it was just games 1 through 3. Game 4, they got 20 kills. And he's like, I have no choice but to respect these guys now. He said he's an Unlimit fan from now going forward. He's an Unlimit fan. But I did want you to talk about what you were saying for the team moving forward, because obviously they have a ton of skill. They can get a lot of kills. I call Yulari Man the boogeyman. He's awesome. He's fantastic. But for the future, though, there are some things they're probably going to have to clean up, right?
Absolutely. So here's the thing. These guys are all super young. Yulari Man, I think, is 18. Exuvi is 20, and I don't know how old Peace is. I
think he's 19 or 20, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong on that.
Wikipedia has him. Yeah, he's 20. So these guys are all like super young. Okay, very young. I was bringing it up on the broadcast because I feel like Wigan Greek had them as tournament favorites, and I think that was in large part because of how well they're performing in scrims. But I think just the one thing that didn't mesh well with me for that is this was their first year of LANs, and I think that experience is very important. I mean, we saw that with Oblivion. Like, you guys talked about it. Monsoon and Fun's experience is probably invaluable to that point, and especially like imagine Blinkster in that same situation with two like 20-year-olds. It just probably isn't quite the same result in terms of maybe they're not like having the vibes, the atmosphere. You know, I think it was Jumbo who pointed out like the comms of like backing up exactly what he's saying, like all of that kind of thing that just comes with time, right? So by no means is what I'm about to say is me saying that Unlimited is not going to be able to improve and be better in the future, because I think these guys have unlimited potential. Not
unlimited
Fun
potential.
was intended.
When I said that, no pun intended. But I really do think like these guys could one day elevate their games to becoming like legitimate LAN winners, all that kind of stuff. The thing that I was worried about going into this LAN, and it almost came exactly true. The 20-point game you're talking about, that's where they clutched up. Was I knew they would do good in groups, because in groups playing edge is just significantly easier because teams are not as like down pat on rotates, getting to zone. You're playing with some teams that are also struggling. The groups are a lot more, I wouldn't say as like heavy in terms of like the top level teams, because there's not as many heavy hitters all in one lobby. Certain teams haven't quite just found their rhythm yet. So like for example, Crazy Thieves, they had like done terrible through groups. So you just have a lot of like different stuff that's happening there. So I was like, they're going to do great in groups. The thing that worries me is when they get to a bracket stage lobby, boom, that happens. They go to winner's bracket, they fall down. Same thing almost happened in Elim round 2. I remember when we did our tier list, that's where I had them getting knocked out. And we caught a lot of flack for that. People were not happy about us doing that. But those first 3 games of Elim round 2, it looked like it was going to happen. They ended up clutching up huge. I think it was on Olympus. So, they bounced back, right? But the problem that they have right now is they feel very much like Gen G did like 2 years ago, where they are fighting to kill people. That's it. But the thing that I remember when Optic at that year 3 champs, when I talked to Dropped, he was like, a lot of people, because of what Furia did, which this is exactly what Furia did. They played to kill people, right? When Furia had that massive performance in Raleigh, there became a misconception on Edge play that is how you were supposed to play Edge. You were supposed to be this like terrorist that is just running around murdering everybody on the edge and just, you know, you don't care about rotates. You'll find your way in eventually. And then obviously like another team like Fire Beavers became very popular around that time, where they're like, literally they zone pulls to them, they would leave completely. They don't want to play where the zone is pulling. They wanted to leave so they go kill people and play edge. And Drop told me, he was like, that's not actual true edge. Like true edge is identifying God spots and power positions and then fighting for those. So you were not fighting for kills, you were fighting for positioning. And Unlimit just doesn't do that. They are not, the one thing that they lack is identifying where those God spots are, how to get to said God spot, and then using that to win the game. So they're really good at fighting, but I think the thing that they need to do is start to learn some of that macro that the actual edge teams play, which I know it's ironic because I just talked about the alliances and the Shopifys that just didn't work that well with this LAN. But the meta is not always going to be like that. Like sometimes, like I think the rotating ring console thing somewhat hurt some of those teams too, but that's a whole nother conversation in terms of like legend bans. I made a tweet about that. But I think Unlimit has to be able to identify what those God spots are and start to fight for those positions, because that will get them into wins. Because we saw they flashed a stat whenever they did their walkout that was like, when Unlimit gets into a top 10, like 80% of the time they convert that into a top 5. Like they were super good at converting top 10s into top 5s. The thing is, a lot of that I think came from that group stage. When they actually got to the bracket stage, they didn't do that as effectively outside of those final 3 games. The first 9 games of the bracket stage, they were not getting deep into end games whatsoever. So yeah, I just really feel like Unlimited just needs to, they just need to learn macro, as simple as it is. And they're very young. The fighting like capabilities those 3 guys have is like off the charts. Like it's incredible what they can do in fights. All 3 of them. Yulari, man, I mean, I know we hype him up a ton, but the other 2 are super good in fights as well.
Yeah.
Like they're all disgusting. And so imagine taking that level of firepower and combining it with like good macro. They would be incredible. Like they would be
So-
what we were expecting Shopify and Alliance and those kind of teams to be, you know?
So cash in or start getting ready for like that unlimit season. Like try to get in early on the unlimit train,
Not you.
because obviously
And
this is
not you.
we're really
not
early
you,
right now.
because you will ruin any potential they have, like you have done with Shopify Rebellion. Very similar young team that should be doing
God,
better
he's
than
got
they
that
are,
look on his
but
face.
unfortunately you cursed them. But it's something that I think I'm very interested. I watch like APAC North Pro League like casually. Like other regions, I like hardcore pay attention to, but APAC North, because of the time difference and also like it's just been the weakest region, I've watched that casually. I'm actually super excited for year 6 Pro League of APAC North, because Unlimit is a team that I want to watch. Because if going into this Pro League, they do the same thing where they're just like fighting everybody, but they're not developing any macro, yeah, they can win Pro League doing that because of APAC North as a region. But I want to see, I want to watch the rotates. I want to watch, are they identifying God spots? Do they see a fight they could take and they say, no, we're not going to do it because we're playing for this future position later and we need to set ourselves up now for that. That's what I want to see if they can start to do, because even though they know they can win APAC North Pro League, if they start to have that sort of long-term mindset, then truly I think they could develop into a potential LAN winning team. And I do not doubt that they could reach that one day, because I mean, look at what E36 was able to do from the same region. Despite the fact that it was a weaker region, the way that they've developed over the last year was really good. So I'm very interested to see how Unlimited advance into year 6.
Real quick, I just wanted to bring up the stat that Jay mentioned. They had 39 matches that they played at this tournament. 17 times they made top 10, but 12 of those turned into a top 5, and 9 of those turned into a top 3. So, like, those last couple of numbers are really good, but obviously the 17 of 39, like that's the part of the rotating, the macro, all of that, that they're going to have to work on. So,
because here's the thing. Once you get into those end games, the fighting is usually what is going to carry you. You have to be able to just like fight, you know? And so once they're getting there, oftentimes the reason they got there was because they did steamroll a team. Like I remember I was on one of the Olympus games and they fought Falcons for a power position. And I was like, that's encouraging to see. The problem was they didn't continue to do that because this was in groups, but they won the Olympus game when they did that. And I was like, okay, like if we see that more often, maybe I'll be wrong in bracket stage and they'll actually just cruise in winners bracket. So yeah, I'm super interested to see if they can start to do that more, because yeah, they're excited.
I'll say why I think we really threw on prize picks, because we should have really realized this was the worst game 1 through 3 to bet on, and then game 4 through 6 we could have hammered and got. We could have absolutely farmed on game 4 through 6. I mean, by the way, I won money. They sucked, but I won money on the weekend.
Hold on, I won back-to-back. Nobody won back-to-back bets other than me.
Wyatt, when you open up the Prize Picks app, what I want you to do is I want you to close it, and then I want you to open PayPal, type in my email, and send me whatever money you were going to put into Prize Picks.
Yeah,
because like
people in the chat were roasting my ass.
I'll be your bookie. I'll give you the same lines Prize Picks did, and let's do that.
Yeah.
I'll put up my money.
That's actually so true. I'll give you 2-1 for the same lines. Yeah,
you guys really could use me as a resource to just get mega uber rich.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't really ask for much in return.
Every time you do a Prize Pick, I want you to text me.
Okay.
That's what I want you to do.
I fucking text him. He ignores it. I text him and put in the chat like 5 or 6 times. I said, stop doing Prize Picks and just send me the money. Because like what? It's a waste. I would put it way better.
Same thing.
I'd put it to way better use.
Well, it got Monsoon to win. Some are saying. That's what some people are saying. There was some other teams that did really well in this one. Obviously, we look at Grow Gaming. That was really good to see Grow Gaming up there. SAE Wells up there.
Hey,
TSM surprisingly really good as well. I say surprisingly just because we were talking about them beforehand, being like, I don't know which way this is gonna go. You really can't like pick it out. But I wanted to do our last biggest surprise as Crazy Thieves.
Because
would you have Jay?
Just about TSM, real fast thing. I'm very interested to see in this roster mania where Panic ends up, because the year this kid has been incredible. Like legitimately, when you look at every LAN, he is statistically up there with the Yulariumans and like all like the Hals. Like he has been frying. So
yeah, and I think
very hot commodity.
Donnie, I think when we were doing our prediction show, I had said to you, or maybe it was when you were here, I said, I think there's a chance that even if TSM does do well, the team is still going to split. Because there was like, I think we talked about it on the show, like, if they don't do well, I think a split is coming. I think I told you when you were here, even if they do well, I think there's going to be a split. I think he's going to move on.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he's smart, he's going to see what's out there. There's rosters that can always use somebody with the fragging potential that he has and somebody that can change a game. I mean, we saw in that last game, I mean, he has the kidnap on to Hal that, I mean, Hal, I'm sure, has been quoted multiple times as saying that some certain words towards Panic's direction for those kidnaps. But and he also had the kidnap on Guild as well on E-District. So, yeah, I mean, he would be dumb not to look at his options, no matter how well they did, to see where they're at. And obviously, if his best option is to run it back, he will. But if there's other stuff out there, then, I think where he's at, it's hard to see like his stock getting like crazy higher. It can also obviously get a little higher, but like much higher than it is right now. So we'll definitely see. That's going to be a fun one to follow along with. And also congrats to him, because I know we obviously criticized a little bit of that roster. So congrats on how he played, because he was really good. And so was Dupe and Gent too, because I think Gent was like second in kills in that finals lobby. So he was
State legend.
He was going crazy, and Dupe obviously with the IGL part as well.
There?
So
he told me.
Where'd he go?
He dropped out to go to play Apex. No. He DM'd me, or no, he told me after the interview. That's the joke though. That's the joke. I did want to bring up the last surprise being Crazy Thieves, and Jumba had Crazy Thieves, I believe, as a dark horse, right? Did you have it as your dark horse or your wild card?
Maybe it was wild card. No, I think dark horse I put them as.
I think you put dark horse.
You guys remember?
And the reason why I wanted to bring them up was because they were so dog shit in the group stages. They were so bad. Donnie was there. I kept saying, like, they fucking suck. I just kept saying it.
There was no other word for it. There was no other way to describe it.
Until right at the end. And it was like, oh my God. Oh my. And then, I told Don that when we started breaking it down for the next day, I said, I think that woke them up. I think they're going to be good and everything's going to be okay again. And that's exactly what happened. But Jumbo, from your perspective, just watching Crazy Thieves, if you looked at this from we didn't see any games and the results are just printed out in front of us and they're like, this is what's going to happen. You'd say, oh yeah, 100% perfect. Yeah. I could see that. But watching the group stages, you're just watching like, what is happening? I don't know. It seemed weird from my end. What did you see?
Well, again, this is actually a little bit of a tough one because I feel like where they didn't perform good and what you're asking me happened in the group stages, which I didn't get to see, but talking to people and asking like, what's going on? Like, what are you guys seeing up there? Like, why is it not working out? It almost felt like they were saying like, it was like a role fit thing where it's like, if Verhulst didn't have someone like Sparrow, he was struggling to be on the same level as his teammates and everything like that. And the things were just going wrong for them in that sense. But, they kind of turned it around in finals. It seemed like they locked in, especially for getting to zone as one of the first and then just holding down their spot and doing well there. It looked really good for them in the finals, 6th place overall. I'm sure they're happy with that. I'm curious what's going to happen going into next year because 6th place doesn't seem like it's something you want to change from. Also, too, those 3 names doesn't seem like you would want to change. How do you get much better than the 3 guys that are on that team? But I wonder if they look at, well, we haven't been consistent for a while and that they feel like they should have been better. Because I think for their whole year, that would kind of be the conversation is we would have thought these guys should have been always in the top 3, top 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If anyone else wants to jump in on that, though, I'd appreciate opinions there. Because again, I didn't get to see the group stages. The only thing I saw of Verhulst was the punch out.
Listen, I'm not advocating for them to drop anybody, but I'm assuming somebody will move on. I don't know if it's for better pastures, because I feel like with the year they had, 6th is good, but they had 4th, 7th, 6th, I think. That was the 3 lands. And all those feel good, but it just feels like they were never at any of those lands. I just feel like they hit match point, but did we ever
dominant.
have one of those? Yeah.
Did we ever have a game? 100 Thieves are taking over this land. They're doing it.
Did we even ever have a game where it was 100 Thieves might win the LAN right here. You know what I
Better.
mean? Like, I don't think we
Mhm.
had that because the Open, they didn't have match point because there was only the 2, right? Like maybe they hit it, but it was after or whatever. I don't know what points they finished with. But then midseason playoffs, I can't remember. I don't
They
remember a
win
game
like
where
the
they were.
first game and like they go nuts and everyone's like, this is fucking crazy because it was also right after Phony got appendix surgery. Like I'm pretty sure
Yeah,
that was the first game at
in the
match point
groups.
final. Was it
Yeah.
groups that they
No,
won?
no, no. Match point final. That was the first game because he came back, got the appendix surgery. Then the next day was their group set, and they won the first game.
Okay, yeah.
But in the
Let's see, it
finals, because
wasn't finals then.
first game of finals was VK winning at Lotus.
Yeah.
But like they were like 7th. So like it's like good, but I don't know. There was like 10 teams on match point in that LAN, right? Like because it went to game 10, I think. So it didn't feel like they really popped off. And I don't remember an end game where it was like, these are gonna win this. And the same thing happened here. So
That's what I'm
I don't
saying
know.
though about like this was a team that when you saw Phony, Jen Burton, Verhulst come together, you were like, oh my god, that's like
Yeah.
the next super team. All 3 LAN winners on 3 separate teams come together. Like this is a team
Yeah.
that is gonna dominate this year. And like even in the pro leagues, they never did really.
Yeah. And like they were consistently good because don't get me wrong, 4th, 7th, 6th is like that's a really damn good year. But like Jumba said, considering the expectations for that team, I just feel like that's a little bit of a letdown. Like it just really felt like they should have had one LAN where they got a second, or they should have had a chance to win a match point game, and they didn't. Like this one I thought was going to happen, that Northpad game where it ended up being Alliance, VP, and E36. I thought Thieves were actually going to potentially win the whole tournament there because they were playing from the Northpad side. They pinched out Fnatic at that God Rock, and I was like, they might win this thing, and then they died. And so I don't know. The thing that I kept saying during the LAN was, if they don't win this one, I think the change they need is an out-and-out fragger, because both Verhulst and Jen are sort of in a position in their careers where they feel like they're sort of your flex player. Like they can play, the anchor role. And I just feel like that feels a little redundant. I don't feel like you need both of them on that roster. And listen, Jen, actually, in terms of kills, I didn't realize how good he did on the whole tournament.
He was insane numbers wise.
He was fragging out like crazy. But that's the thing. Jen can put up those numbers without needing to be your fragger. So that's where I'm like, do you, depending on who leaves between either Verhulst or Jen, because I'm assuming probably 2 of them stay together. I don't know who will leave. I've heard, rumors of Jen going back to 0. I don't know if that'll ever happen. The talks of Verhulst going on to different pastures. I don't know, right? But if one of them does leave, that's where I'm like, do you go get a Panic? I don't know if that kind of works with Phony, but at the same time, Phony works with Koiful and Zainu, and, those guys can yap their ears off, right? So I don't know. I feel like they just need a player that can create those openings, because the one criticism I've had this entire time 100 Thieves have been a roster is Phony is their most effective fragger in terms of creating openings. And that's just something that he has never really done on previous rosters. And I like, it's cool because that shows that Phony has really leveled up his own individual game. But I think Phony is at his best when he has another guy that can do that. It's like Hal and Guild, right? Like having Guild, because there's moments where you can see Hal is trying to think of what to do, and then you hear Guild go, I know what, and then they just push that and they wipe a team. You know what I mean? Like having someone that can just create those moments for you, where it doesn't always have to be Phony, because I think it's hard to be the IGL where you're trying to think of what to do while also create those moments where you just force what to do. So yeah, I don't know. I that's where I'm looking at the Panics or sort of those kind of level of players that just shit out damage. That's what I want to see 100 Thieves get if they make a roster change. I still believe if they don't, this is a team that is absolutely capable of winning a LAN, because you don't get 3 LANs in a row where you're basically like, on match point, and at some point you're going to break through, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will say there was 2 things that I saw that I think are details to at least bring up. Again, people can have their own opinion on it. One, I believe I saw it was about a week before, they kind of made a tweak with like some of the role and characters that Evan was playing. And because I believe it was Phony that made a tweet being like, I appreciated Evan making some adjustments like right before the LAN, after we practiced all this different stuff. So I'm sure like that had some sort of effect, like kind of making a big change like that, at least according to that. And then the other thing too was that I believe it was Phony and Evan that both got affected by the controller ban
Yeah.
thing to start with, which again, you saw what Hal did with it. You can have your own opinions, but I do think that is important to bring up because at the end of the day, when you are playing on something for so long and get used to it, anytime anything changes at this level, you're just so mentally like locked into like what you have in your hands, what you're used to, like how this reacts to this, that any slight change can throw people off. So maybe it was just a little bit of this, a little bit of that. That's why they kind of had this rough start to things. But yeah, at the end of the day, like that bounce back, those last two games, the fact they even had a sniff to make that winners round after how bad they played was electric. And something I will always remember about this tournament is us in the stew being like, they might qualify. Oh my God, they might qualify. What the? It was just, yeah, it was those two games were insane.
They got 21st with 101 points. That's never happened. Like that is the most points from a 21st place team ever. And I was really trying to hammer that in on the main broadcast because it's like this is the most competitive LAN we've ever seen because of stuff like that happening. Like Thieves sucked so bad for the entire group stage and then just dropped two massive games back to back and almost make it. Like imagine if they just didn't suck the first day. Then they could have maybe even been up there in top 5 in groups, and then after that they were rolling because then when they got to Elam round 1, I think they won like either game 1 or game 2, and then from there it was just like, all right, they're back, they're fine.
Yeah, and those final 2 games had like major implications for some other teams, and one of those being Rock Esports. Rock Esports was at the cutoff, and you felt like, I mean, most people would assume that they were going to be safe.
100 points.
You think you're going to be okay. I think NIP was the one who actually kicked them out. I'm not 100% sure, but I know NIP stuck in. And then they and then they don't even make finals. And it's like when you lose out on those opportunities, it's crazy to think that you could score 100 points in the group stages and still not be able to make it in. But I think it goes back to the point that somebody made earlier where it just feels like as we get further and further along into Apex, I feel like maybe in the earlier seasons and the earlier iterations of ALGS, a lot of it could just be like, who is the better player and can I play with the better players? And now it seems like a lot of it is like, who is the best player at this specific role and does it fit with the role that I have and the other person has? And that's what I love so much about this one as well, is it wasn't just, like a super team fest. Obviously Falcons is a really good roster, but they're also like really like sound in where their roles are and how they all play them. And you could say the same thing about Oblivion. So, and a lot of the rosters in this LAN. So I really enjoyed this one. And the fact that 100 points doesn't get you in is legitimately insane. Like we talk about cutoffs all the time. I don't think I've ever seen one that high.
One thing I did want to bring up too, in terms of just to back up why I said I think they need like an out and out fragger, and I brought up Panic's name. I don't know in terms of like how Panic feels about that team or they feel about him. And once again, I don't even know if the roster change is going to happen. But assuming one did, the reason I bring up a player like that is I would love to see them get a player that can play those like Wraiths and Bangalores and Altars and all that stuff. Because of right now, those aren't characters that Jen or Verhulst are going to play, which I think somewhat forces Phony into those characters, which leads to them not being able to play crypto. Because Phony won a LAN playing crypto, and we've been in a crypto meta this entire year. And I remember talking to Bronzy at the airport after the Open, and they talked about how they wanted to work on their crypto stuff. But I think the thing that they've probably just sort of ended up being in a position with is Verhulst and Jen. I just don't think that they're very good at those sort of like rotational characters like Koifel or Zainu was when Phony played with SSG. So I would love to see that, and it just goes back to, once again, the person that can create the openings with those characters. And I think that limits them a little bit because, once again, I think that Verhulst and Jen just feel very overlapped in terms of what they bring to this roster. So yeah, that's one thing that I'd love to see if they make a change happens. If they don't, that's something that they need to find out as a team, because and I don't know who that is. I think maybe I would lean towards Jen being that guy, because I mean, think back to the DZ days. Jen was that dude. He was the fragger creating the openings. So, and I think he could absolutely do it. So yeah, but that is something that either they need to fix or replace.
So that was all the surprises I had for the most part from this entire LAN, at least in just that finals lobby. I do want to mention Hot Dog Mafia. Do we have a number that if they would have ended up winning, how many hot dogs I would have ate?
94.
94.
I had that off
Easy.
dome. Don't
Light
you know
work.
that? You know that, right?
Light work.
Because I already looked that up. That was one of the
So,
first things I went to go look. How many
If you only did finals, and here's the thing, they got 13th. They didn't even do that great. 22 kills. So imagine they won. We're talking like in the 40s. That's what Oblivion and Falcons had. They each had 41 kills.
Easy.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been easy.
I
I do
don't
want
think
to
you-
Hot Dog
no.
Mafia though. Like that was kind of sick. Them just getting to finals. I really
they got
liked that.
fourth
That
and
was good.
winners.
They got fourth.
Yeah, it was really.
they
They
played
were doing
incredible.
good.
When they
were
got
doing.
fourth and winners, I was like, holy shit, he's going to have to eat these men.
Yeah,
I
I was
know.
worried. I was worried.
We told.
I was worried.
I think maybe this is where we messed up. Me and Jay were talking to Alb, and was it Alb and Skittles or was it Alb and?
It was Knock.
Knock.
Alvin Knock.
Okay, yeah.
Because Nocturnal was coaching.
Yeah,
them,
yeah, that's
anyway.
right. It was Knock. So like we were talking to them, and I looked at Jay and I was like, should I tell them? And then he's like, I'm like, should I tell them with the hot dog bet? And they're like, what's the hot dog bet? And then so I explained to them what happened. I wonder if that put pressure.
that might have put pressure.
They
That's
were
okay.
like, damn, that guy Wyatt on the Apex the podcast, like, I don't know if I want to make him eat all those dogs. Maybe we should just sandbag in the
Well,
finals.
to them, I appreciate that then because I did not think you can look at my eyes right now. My eyes are like barely open doing this show because I'm still tired from when Donnie was here. I didn't think it was going to take that much of a toll on my body.
Yeah.
But I guess when you're only drinking Coors Light and sitting in a small room and Donnie's sick and we're all just chilling there. Yeah, it was foggy. It looked like Silent Hill outside. It took a toll. It was a long week, Don.
20 plus hours of stream. I mean, just everything. It was a long weekend.
You know, you
We
guys, look, I'm
only
yawning
ate
over
shit.
here. You know what you guys didn't
Yeah.
have? 22 hours of travel.
That's true.
Back to back.
That's true.
Give me a
I don't
break.
know how you're yawning, bro. This is like, I'm like prime awake right now. I'm
No,
struggling
I
to
have-
go to bed at a normal time because of
I
Japanese
actually,
time.
I've been completely different. I just sleep at random intervals. So like my first day back, I went to bed at like 11, but I woke up at 4 and that was it. I couldn't get back to sleep. But then because of that, the next day I was so tired around like 1, 2 p.m. I fell asleep until like 6 p.m. And then after I was up a bunch. And then yesterday, same thing happened, 1 to 5. Every day, today it happened again. I'm sleeping between 1 to 5 p.m. every day. And then I usually that means I'm awake right now, but I don't know. I've been so tired today. I sleep in random
See, I'm having the
intervals.
issue where first day I got back, I went to bed at midnight and I was like, this is great. If I sleep through the whole night, then I'll be on I'll be on track. Wake up at 3 a.m. Cannot fall asleep.
That's what's happening to
Oh,
me. And
and
because I
then-
keep sleeping in 3-hour fucking segments, it's terrible.
But I just stayed in my bed trying to make it happen, fell asleep at 9 a.m. And now I'm just shocked because 9 a.m. is like Japan nighttime. So
Yeah.
now I'm stuck on this, like, I can't fall asleep until it's like crazy early in the morning and I'm waking up at like 4. And
Yeah.
so now I'm trying to like fight that. And I think I might just have
Well,
to.
last
rip,
night
like
I was up till
like a
4 a.m. with
24
you
hour.
guys. But like, this is what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
it's like the times are not lining up. I'm just falling asleep whenever and only sleeping for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Bad. It's
Not
brutal.
great.
But yeah, so shout out Hot Dog Mafia. That was sick. I just remember every single time in group stages, me and Donnie would look, they would insta be in zone. Every single time. Like, they fucking made it again. They're in every
Dude.
single zone.
Like
They
I
just
said,
kept-
Wyatt definitely was cheered against him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those dogs. bro.
Well,
dude, I was gonna
every
say,
time he saw a
literally-
top 5, he would just say "fuck."
That comment that Skittle made where he's like, sometimes the edge team just chooses you. That's why they were in zone so fast. They
Yeah.
didn't want to be the one chosen.
They didn't
Like,
want to
we're
be the
just
one
getting
chosen.
out of there, man.
Yeah. Okay, boys. Well, quickly, what we're gonna do is take a quick break. Oh, what do you have? What do you have, Jay?
Just a little shout out too, because you're talking about surprises. We don't have to go long on these. Didn't expect Sentinels to get bottom 10. We had on our tier list that team to get finals. Did
Yeah,
not see
They're
that one
LFT.
coming.
Yeah, that's tough.
Didn't expect Gaming Gladiators to get bottom 10. That was a team that Don and I were like going back and forth on as like our
Yeah.
finals team. I even texted Jumba to be like Supernova or GG. Luckily, we put Supernova there.
I was
so
gonna say,
we
I
weren't
said
too right.
Supernova. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I
I had GG, so that was on me.
But even then, I was with you that I didn't think they were going to be like bottom 10. I thought they'd
No.
be Elim round 2. And then even Elim round 2, these were two that really surprised me. VK Gaming, like, a lot of people were doubting them, and so I feel like, I don't know, maybe this is one where the doubters won. I'm depressed that they didn't make it to the finals. I wanted them to.
Same.
But like a lot of people were saying that was what was going to happen. The one that shocked me, Wolves Esports, did not expect that. Like,
Yeah, they were in my
getting
top
13th
5
in Elim round 2. I for sure thought that was going to be a team that was in the finals. Like, if you ask, I thought that was a lock, and they didn't make it. So,
Oh, Dawn, we do have to talk about SBI Esports, bro.
before you do
We
that,
gotta
also
talk about SBI
Citadel
Esports.
Gaming, dude. Who would have thought they would have done that good in groups and then do that bad
crashed
in
out
bracket?
after.
Like literally 20th in Elim round 2. Did not expect that at all. That was surprising.
They just seemed like it was a case of when the highs were good, they could ride that momentum. But as soon as that negative kind of game started coming in, it just snowballed because they were just a shell themselves in that bracket stage.
Bro,
it was so
Elim
sad
round
to see
2,
because they played
4
so
points.
good to start with.
Yeah, they got 4 points in Elim round 2. Like, and I legitimately thought that was a team that was going to be placing top 10. So that really surprised me.
I still think there's brighter futures ahead for all three of those games.
I would agree. SBI though.
The SBI. We got to talk SBI.
That I'm trying to say this respectfully. That might be one of the most random teams that's ever made a final. Like,
Bro,
they got
they
what
sucked.
39th or 40th in the
They
group
sucked.
stages, and then they just said we're going to start playing Apex. It
Yeah.
was insane. Like,
it was insane.
it was awesome though. It was kind of sick to watch.
Bro, at the LAN, Dia for some reason was like incredibly fascinated by SBI. Like during groups, I don't know why, but incredibly fascinated. He was like, I just had his eye on that team. He didn't predict them to do anything. This wasn't like he was a fan of them. Just for some reason, he was impressed by them in Pro League and was like, I got my eye on them. So then it became a storyline in the green room where we're following them, and they did so bad in groups. We're like, Dio, what's going on, man? All of a sudden, what happens in that bracket stage? They just started playing edge. They're a hard zone team, like rotate early. They just started fighting people and somehow made their way all the way to the finals. Now, once again, didn't really work when they got there, but like, what is that? Like, you go from one of the hardest zone teams to just like, all right, we're just going to kill everybody. And in that, what was it, Elim round 1, they dropped 2 like 20 kill games or something like that.
They went insane. Well, dude, that first elimination, we saw the team that got like 39th and 40th. It was them and RRQ go and win the first 2 games. I'm like, okay, this land's drunk. Like, what is happening, man? But yeah, SBI was another fun one. Obviously, with it being another APAC North team. That was really cool to see, them make their way through into the finals, and with them making it, it gave APAC North the second most teams of any of the regions, which we all said that they might get lucky to get 2. So like it was,
literally,
it was so fun though. Like that was one I was like, usually those stories are like, okay, it's only going to happen really quick, but I was like, I want to see how far this goes. Like, I want to see like how they can make this work, and they got the finals. I was like, all right.
The way Jay described it, it was like the Antonio Gates effect. He's like, I like playing basketball. Then they put some pads on him and a helmet. He's like, damn, I'm sick at tight end. Maybe I should do this instead. Like,
I mean,
they're playing zone, and then they just go on.
There's
like,
no other way to
everybody.
describe it. Yeah, because I mean, and there was that joke that what was it, Gaskin made on the call, where he was like, oh, they got a kill. That's 2 points. They 100% doubled their points.
We were laughing at him too. And then I think they ended up winning the game. We're like, what?
Bro, the craziest part about that Elim round 1, they win the first game with like a huge point total, right? They get bottom 5 the next 4 games and almost ended up missing out on like going to Elim round 2. And then what do they do in the last game? They drop another massive win. Like it was the most like, what is happening team I've ever seen. That Elim was literally, if they get past 15th, they're winning the game and they're going to get 20 kills. That's what that entire round was. And they did it twice and it happened.
And the odds of it happening are like 20-ish%.
It's not great, but if they do it, they're going to win the game.
And I have to mention again, for those who maybe have missed it, they were playing with the guy that coached them all year. They played with he randomly subbed in. He was just like, yeah, we're going to, like, again, I don't know the whole story behind why they did it, but He hops in like 2-3 weeks before the tournament. They bring in a different guy to coach. It's this coach's first LAN. They go terrible. It's like, okay, this is not going to go anywhere. And then they're in finals. It's just like,
Bro,
what
in our
the
tier list,
world?
we were like, oh yeah, they're playing a coach. Like this is easy. Like
I'm pretty sure we put the very bottom of the last row.
And
bro.
they
followed
basically
you.
were.
I followed
basically
that based because I remember saying, "Hey, SVI did good in Split 1 Pro League."
You mentioned
This
that
is
on the
my
pod.
only
I
thing
do
I
remember
said,
that. Yeah, but no, that was
Wild.
Yeah, such again
One of the
another
best
fun
stories.
storylines. Honestly,
Just a great story.
that or
Bro,
Minute
now I
Culture
feel-
just fit into that last storyline. It
Why
was
do I
insane.
feel like this is like a team Wyatt's gonna like secretly love now? Like he's just gonna be.
No, I honestly was more annoyed than anything because I was like, I can't figure out I don't know what this team is. Like, I just don't know what it is. But yeah, I mean, I'll if they're in finals again, what does the coach do now? Does he say like, does he just go back to
does he
coaching? He's
just-
like, I'm kind of sick.
Yeah, just keep playing.
Yeah.
I'm kind of good at this.
Yeah. Yeah, man. What a crazy land, what a crazy experience. And it was a really good one. My favorite of all time. But boys, we're gonna take a quick break and then just quickly run through the year 6 announcement because obviously they announced year 6 on final Sunday. So we're gonna go through that real quick. Some of the changes that they're making, some of them are really exciting. And then we'll send you guys on the heart to heart and the rest of your week. Let's get it. Okay, so year 6 has fully been announced. And boys, it's an interesting one, but I think in the best way possible. Obviously, we don't know how things are going to play out until they actually happen, but it seems like a lot of the things that we had qualms with, they've kind of changed or at least amended in some way, shape, or form to try to help it out like as much as they possibly can. So it's going to start in February 28th with the online open. So they have like an online LAN essentially. They also have Split 1. That's going to be, I think, Don, does it start
No,
April 4th? Is that the start date?
I want to like just quickly, if we want to specify this online open, there are details on a YouTube channel like about the ALGS roadmap. I don't know if they give details about how the open works. I'm pretty sure it's just preseason quals renamed.
It's preseason qualified.
It's preseason quals
reskin.
renamed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
pro
okay.
league teams that have been invited are not allowed to play in
Yeah.
this, and it's also it's literally just PSQs, but they're
Yeah.
calling
Oh.
it the online open.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. That's all it is.
They got
right?
me. Their
I don't-
branding got me.
I don't know why they rebranded it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever.
They got a
man.
lot of
Their
people
branding
because
got
everyone. I see everyone online like, how is an open going to be played online with like everyone? How are we going to do this? I'm like, stop thinking. Like, first of all, if it wasn't open online, don't think about it like the New Orleans Open. Think about it like BLGS. It would play out
Which is
like
what I thought it was.
which is
gonna
I thought it would be
Yeah.
too. I'm like,
Yeah.
and it's going to be regional. And if there is a prize pool, it's just simply going to be like a $400,000 prize pool, $500,000 prize pool again, split amongst regions. Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna. They're not gonna make fucking Gen G play on a finals lobby on 200 ping. Like again, like scripts. So that was the first thing. But then after I started seeing the invites go out and saw a couple tweets and the brief look into it, I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's just PSQ renamed.
Yeah.
It is.
Let me run through the rest of the schedule real quick, and then we can
Yeah.
kind of get into some of the details. So, like I said, we have the online open, which is just PSQs that starts on February 28th. Then our first LAN of the year will actually be in July.
Yeah.
Sorry, after the after the PSQs, it'll go to Split 1 Pro League. That starts in April. Then it'll go to our first LAN, which is going to be at EWC in July.
July 7th.
Then after
first
that-
week.
What's up?
July 7th, first week.
First
for
week, yeah.
EWC.
Then after that, it's going to be Split 2 Pro League in August, late August. Then after that, boys, we are going to Las Vegas in October for the second LAN. I'm super excited.
That's Halloween weekend.
Dawn-
if you just want like schedule Halloween weekend.
Yeah, Halloween weekend. And then after that, we're going to have year 6, the championship, January 28th through the 31st. And then in between there's a chance that there's an Esports Nations Cup, which I think has been kind of confirmed.
It's been
'cause I believe
confirmed,
Apex is
November.
already in it.
Yeah, November.
Yeah,
confirmed.
okay.
But not. They haven't confirmed the games yet.
I'm
Like
pretty sure I
everybody's
saw
saying
Apex
from-
confirmed somewhere.
That was the EWC tweet, and somebody minus tempo thought that was the nation's tweet. It was not.
Okay.
Mhm.
From
But-
everything I've heard, everybody seems to believe it's a part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know why it wouldn't be, because I haven't heard anybody be like, no, it's not. So I don't know. But still, we don't know. It's not officially confirmed as a part of it.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so essentially the way the whole schedule works out is going to be the preseason qualifiers. You got Split 1 Pro League. Then we have EWC as our first split, Split 2 Pro League. Then Las Vegas is going to be our second LAN. And then we have that Nations Cup in there. And then at the very bottom, we've got Champs back in January. And that's kind of how the schedule is going to shake out here, boys, which I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on it. Jumba, how do you feel about the schedule overall?
I love it. And compared to like what last year's was, I'm just happy that the Split 1, Split 2 playoff format has been brought back and that we're not having something happen in the middle of Pro League. I know some people are upset about like it is now another 6 months till a LAN, but I mean, I don't see any other way that it would have happened. Like we talked about this on a previous one.
Unless you added a LAN.
Yeah, unless you added a LAN, right?
Yeah.
There was no way because I just knew that with the timing between now to EWC and that EWC was going to be a LAN again, that there was just not going to be time to squeeze a LAN in there. And then if you do have that, then you just have a 6 month LAN until January after. So it's like no matter what, we're going to have that. Pro League is in the middle here, so it's the best thing possible.
I was going to say, just on that 6 month thing, the reason that the last gap felt so bad was because the Pro League didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, let's just say it how it is.
thing. Yeah.
The last Pro League split did not matter. Like it did, but for like 99% of teams, it did. You know what I mean? Like most teams were already pretty much qualified to LAN. And did anybody win Pro League that earned their spot because of that?
No,
I don't think so, right?
Not because of Pro League, a regional finals,
yeah.
but not.
But the regional
of, like,
finals always had done that for previous LANs anyway.
Exactly.
It's just this time it affected champs. But like otherwise, the Pro League like really didn't matter. So I think that's why the break felt so long. Where this one, we're going to a Pro League that does like this Pro League directly qualifies you for that the EWC Split 1 playoffs. So it won't feel as bad. Like when we have meaningful Pro Leagues, that doesn't feel like a 6 month
like
break. That feels like we're hyping up, we're getting ready, we're seeing the teams that are going to be dueling it out at LAN. We're trying to actually qual for that. So for everybody saying, "Oh, another 6 months to LAN," it's not the same. It doesn't.
It's not. No, not at all. Not at all.
So, other than the actual schedule itself, they have added some new rules. Sorry, was there another?
I just wanted to say,
thing?
didn't you have something about the format of EWC also changing though?
Yes. So this is something that I think is one of the biggest and coolest changes that they're doing. So obviously EWC, how it normally worked was just you played the one lobby. If you got, top 6, 7, whatever, you go directly to finals. Now it's going to be, they have an extra day. God damn, I really did say it, didn't I? There's an extra day that's being added. So it's going to be a 5-day LAN for EWC when it's normally only been 4. And there is going to be a group stages that's going to take place this time. So like we have in our normal split 1, split 2 champs type playoffs, it'll be a whole group stage where everybody plays each other. So going to be the 4 groups, 10, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And then after that, the top 14 from group stages go to finals. The bottom 6 from group stages go directly home. And then the middle 20 teams will then compete in what we knew last year of like that last chance survivor series where it's 10 games. And you have to be top whatever to make finals. So I personally really love that EWC kind of bended a little bit. EA kind of bended a little bit and found, I think, what's going to be a much better format for EWC where they have like, again, their own kind of spin on it with their survivor series, I think is what they're calling that lobby. But then we also get like these teams where they get to actually go and like enjoy the event because like the group stages are played over the first 3 days. So like all these teams will get to compete across 3 days instead of potentially showing up and only really being there for a day and a half before they got eliminated. So I think all in all, like, EWC obviously has its criticisms in some areas, but I think the format and what they're adding to it, I think is going to make that tournament even better than what we've seen it before.
Question.
That's big.
Do you know how long the sets are? Because obviously in the previous year, there were the 10
six games, I'm pretty sure, is what the group stages will be. So
what about
like
last chance? Is that still 6
10.
or are we going back to 10? It's going back
10.
to 10.
I'm pretty sure I saw 10. So yeah, we'll see. Like the group stages will basically be exactly like we know it at every other LAN. And then the Survivor series, I'm like 95% sure it was a 10 game series like we've seen.
Okay.
before.
Because
So.
listen, the one thing I will say that I've always loved about the EWC format was the 10-game last chance lobby, because that's like the do or die lobby. And I feel like the thing I like about it is with 10 games, winning one game is not enough. We saw
Yeah.
NRG win 2 games and didn't make it. Like, that's how insane the 10-game thing can be. So I do like if that last chance is going to be 10 games. Also, just real quick for anybody, because I know we don't have the bracket stage, but he said, what did you say? Top 14 from groups automatically advance to finals.
Yeah.
So if we just did that same thought experiment based on what just happened at Champs, 12 of the top 14 actually did end up making finals. The only 2 that didn't was Citadel, which was shocking, and then Wolves, which was another very surprising thing. But otherwise, for the most part, what just happened at Champs, usually the top 14 that are happening in groups are going to finals anyway. So you're not missing out a ton from the lack of like a full bracket stage. But,
yeah. So I've got the rules here in front of me. 100%, 14 teams from the group stages qualify. It's 3 sets of 6 games. And then in the Survivor Series, that is the official title for it. It is 10 matches are played with the teams that finished 15th through 34th in the group stages. And then whoever gets top, that'd be 6, would qualify for finals.
So I forgot, we're still doing then the teams get eliminated from group stages.
Yes.
Well, that's brutal.
Yeah, the bottom
it's
6,
not
right?
as brutal because you have more games that you actually get to go more sets.
Yeah.
But it's not just the 1 10-game set, but that's still
and
brutal,
it's
I guess.
And it's nice that like they at least have like 3 days of competing instead of the one time. So
adapt.
But yeah, like I think that's the coolest thing though, is that it's gonna make this group stages like every single position is gonna matter. Like it's gonna be a lot of fun to see how
it's like
that
a
plays
weird
out.
mix of groups and bracket kind of merged together.
Yeah. That's like I said, I really like how like EWC like folded a little bit, but also like that like Apex was like, let's make this still a little like, or EA was like, let's make this a little different than maybe what we normally see. So I think it's gonna be a really fun format. That's honestly like, outside of obviously Vegas, for an NA LAN, that's probably like the thing I'm most excited to watch or be a part of. So that'll be fun.
Yeah. And the other changes, just to highlight these, because these are kind of interesting here. Legend bands have expanded to Challenger Circuit, which is like not super big, but I think it's interesting, like a nice little change. They've added in a transfer window for rosters. 1 week prior, or sorry, it's a 1 week period to make one change to the roster for the entire split. Outside designated date, no changes allowed. So there is a minimum match guarantee where there's 12 game minimum for champs points to count them for a team. That is the last one there. Last little tiny thing, APAC South no longer has double header days, which I think is just good for the region.
I can
overall.
tell you every single player that I've seen that found out that news has said some sort of thank God, hallelujah, they finally listened. So yeah, they're pretty happy with APAC South. So.
Really?
What do we
I
feel
didn't know
about
that
this?
The players disliked it. I was always under the impression the players had voted for it.
I feel like double header days are brutal. Like, yeah.
Because
like, are you kidding me? 12 games straight?
I remember a long time ago, which maybe this was APAC North, I was like, why do they do that? And someone had told me that the players voted to do that.
So I'm curious if that was
happy. Then
I'm curious if that was maybe APAC North that did that, because there's no changes with APAC North, and they also were doing doubleheader days. So we'll see, like, if maybe that is what the players to decide to keep that. But yeah, I think that's gonna be big for APAC South. The transfer window thing is also huge. Again, that's something I think a lot of the players and people have been asking for around Apex. And then the 12
that's massive W fans.
Yeah, and then the 12 games guaranteed, I think, is also huge, which I think that would correspond anyway with like the roster window, because like the roster window, in case you guys don't know, it's after match day 6. So all of those match day 6 would happen that weekend, and then I believe it's that Monday through Wednesday, I think is what I saw, is that they have the opportunity to make changes and do things like that. It could be longer, but I thought at least I saw like that Monday through Wednesday after the match day 6 was over with. So
I really like the way that they did this too, because there's still a lot of content that can be involved. Because obviously when you start, there's like it's a double-edged sword with like roster mania, because obviously a lot of people, for casual watchers, it's very difficult to kind of keep up with teams sometimes when they're always kind of swapping around. But also it's really nice for the drama. It's really nice for the drama element, makes it like a lot more fun, a lot more engaging. Having a transfer window, especially in the middle of Pro League, like the episode we have during that, before that, we could just go live and kind of talk about all the changes that were made and all that different kind of stuff. It still allows you to have that content. And it allows you, like, as you're leading up to that date, it's like, hey, basically trade deadlines coming up. What do we think we're going to do? And I think there's going to be a lot of fun stuff that come out of that.
Bro, we can do like what the Premier League does and just have like a clock countdown for like when the transfer window's closed.
When it closes.
And all we're doing is just scrolling Twitter, or we see the transactions page pop, like do some Adam Scheffner or freaking Jeff Passan type stuff. I mean, I'm down.
I was going to say, in terms of content, that the weeks leading up to that are going to be very interesting in terms of scrims, because if you think about it, the only time, if you have a very small window like that to make a change, if you want to scrim with somebody else, you're going to have to do it beforehand during Pro League scrims in which you are still teaming with that person, which means either people are going to start playing under like
Different
alt
names,
accounts.
yeah.
We don't know who it is, or well, we're gonna out and out see people doing it during scrims. Like I don't know how all of that's gonna happen, because it feels like in the past you play like one block of scrims and you're like, all right, you're on the team, and then you just kind of roll Pro League with him, and then if you want, you just drop him later in Pro League and get somebody else. You know, like Pro League was almost viewed as like your scrimming ground, your training ground to get like accustomed to them, and if you want to get rid of them, you can. With that window, you can't do that anymore. So things are going to get real spicy around the trade deadline.
It also just makes it to where like you're locked in. I think a lot of times, I don't know if they do this on purpose, but I think it's like a human thing where if you have a back door and you know that you can take that back door to just get out of a situation, a lot of times you'll just take it, which is like, we could just drop this guy at any time if we don't feel like it's working. With the window, it makes it to where if things aren't working initially after the window closes or whatever, you really don't have a choice. You kind of have to just figure out how to make it work. And I think that's going to actually make a lot of teams kind of gel together a little bit more, or completely explode in your face. You get one or the other. And I think there's some fun in either side. So it's going to be cool, man. I'm really excited for that. Do we have anything else on any of the changes for year 6 other than Las Vegas going to be sick? I'm definitely going to be boots on the ground. I think I live 6 hours from Vegas. So whether I fly or drive there, I'm going to be there.
Bro, it's going to be a whole GMP,
can you fly
Apex
from
pod, all that stuff, bro. I
The
think
flight from here,
going crazy.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you fly from there? You don't have to drive to LA,
Yeah,
right? Because
no,
that'd be kind of dumb to drive 3 hours.
from
Yeah,
Fresno
drive 3
to
hours.
Las Vegas is 45 minutes,
There
which
you
I
go.
thought my dad was exaggerating when he took me for the first time. The lady asked me if I wanted a drink. I got a beer, and then I had literally, I felt like I opened the beer, took 2 sips,
You
and
were
pulled out
landing.
my phone, and she was standing right next to me and was like, "You got to chug that. We're about to land." I was like, "What are you talking about? I just opened it." And then so I had to chug the beer before
But to
I
be fair,
touched
though,
down.
you're the only person I know that actually takes 45 minutes to drink a beer. No exaggeration.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, yeah, you can't chug. So she was
Okay.
the stewardess is probably like, really? This is the fastest you got, man? Come on.
All right.
Just burying this man in this episode, man.
I buried myself. This has been my
That's
worst
true.
episode by
That's
a
been a
long
bad
shot.
one. That's been a
It's
I
been
did
you.
wanna-
I don't think I've added actually anything meaningful to this episode other than just jokes
Listen,
and pot shots.
I'm
I'm a
like,
yapper. I've
I
been
look
yapping a lot.
dead right now. I sucked this whole episode.
No, that's,
I'm just fucking shit.
no, that's me. I'm,
I
I'm
do-
exhausted.
Halfway
wanna
through,
make
I
a
almost just
shameless
said, "Guys,
plug."
let's just abandon this episode."
No.
I suck.
not
Okay,
that bad.
all right.
Okay, shameless plug, because I am campaigning for this. This is a suggestion that Privacy brought up a long time ago. I still think there's time for them to implement this for year 6 of the ALGS. I think it will make the viewing experience significantly better. Okay. It's for the way that legend bans are decided. I'm campaigning for this because who knows? Maybe people at EA, are listening to this podcast right now and they're like,
They do.
wow, I didn't see anything else about this ever. And I listen to this podcast and it's amazing and it's great. And this is a fantastic suggestion. For legend bans, the way they currently work is the most picked character of that game gets banned. The problem is that leads to situations where either one, we see a character that gets as a direct replacement. This happened a lot at the beginning of the year where Alter gets banned, so we all play Ashe. Ashe gets banned, so we all play Wraith. Wraith gets banned, so we all play Bangalore. Like that was happening, right? Where the other two characters in the comp would stay the exact same, but we're directly replacing the one character, which doesn't feel like we're getting as much mixture as they wanted when they initially introduced legend bans. And then we also saw this in the finals where the way that unbans work is every single character in a specific class has to get banned. And when that happens, the first character that got banned gets unbanned. So what ended up happening in the finals is Newcastle got banned, then Caustic, then Alter. But then after that, it was like Rampart, Catalyst, Watson, Caustic, Rampart, Catalyst, Watson, Caustic, Rampart, Catalyst, Watson. If that series went for 30 games, those 4 characters would have continued to rotate infinitely, okay?
Yep.
Because everybody's going to have to play ring console characters, which once again, I think defeats the purpose of what makes legend bans good, which is when we finally get to that point, like we saw at the midseason playoffs, for example, where we're getting a litany of different comps. Falcons are playing Lifeline with match point on the line. You know what I mean? So the reason that happened is because back then Caustic was bad. So we didn't have that loop of ring console characters, and also like Rampart wasn't as good, blah blah blah. She has, had the buff where like the wall thing is better, all that stuff, right? Because all the controller characters are good now, and I don't think the answer is to nerf them. I know that a lot of people are saying just nerf the shit out of them. I don't think the legend ban system should be dependent on the state of the legend meta. I think they should do the privacy method, which is that instead of the most picked character of each individual game, it should be the most picked character in the entire series up to that point. So after game 1, nothing will change. It will still be the most picked character. But after game 2, it will be the most picked character across both games 1 and 2. After game 3, the most picked character across all 3 games, so on and so forth. I think that will lead to much more diversity. I think it will remove that cycle of ring console characters getting unbanned. And I think that it'll bring out a much more wacky amount of comps, and it will allow for a lot more like diversity to happen in the later sets of match point, which is what we all want, right? We want to see teams start cooking and bring out some crazy shit that nobody else is bringing out, and then they like win a LAN because of it, and then they can go on, our videos and your podcast and everything and be like, yeah, because of the Vantage pick, like we had this secret advantage that nobody else knew.
Yeah, we went Vantage, Mirage,
right? Like
Revenant.
You want that kind of moment, right? So anyway, I would love if anybody at EA is listening to this. I think that'd be sick to make a change. I put a tweet out about it. I will say, though, credit to privacy. Once again, he was the one who initially suggested this. He has been pushing for it for a while.
He pushed it since the day bans were announced. And when he said that, I was on his train right away. I was rambling about this after finals to you guys, to all the casters. I don't know. You might have been on desk, but I was standing with all the casters going, these bans got to be fixed next year. And I was gonna make a tweet under, because so Chris Piper, or is it Pfeiffer? One sec. Chris,
I think it's
Pfeiffer, right? Who I think I feel like he listens to the pod, so hopefully he's listening this deep into the episode. He puts his tweet out after every year, like what was good, what was bad, and I was on my nightmare of a travel day when I saw that tweet, and I hadn't got the time to put into words. I was going to respond to it with the exact thing that you said until I saw your tweet, and I was like, all right, Jay's got it, and tagged him, so hopefully he sees it. Maybe I should do it regardless, just to keep pushing out the thing. But I have been on this wave since, because even though in the past we didn't have a problem of characters cycling, what we had a problem of is like there was always strong characters in the meta, like a Crypto and a Newcastle, but they just weren't the most played character in the set because you needed your characters to rotate and like to give you this. So instead of like it being like the controller characters, it was like your Wraith, your freaking Alter, like those characters are getting banned, and the characters that were being used the entire time, Crypto and Newcastle, were not getting banned to like 5 or 6.
12 teams are playing Crypto for the whole set.
Yeah. So it's like, and like, so like, what is more dominant? That 18 teams had to play Wraith because they needed a character to freaking rotate around, or that 12 to 15 teams played the same character the entire set? Like, so it's been an issue the whole time. This has just been the most glaring. And if you think about it, if Caustic stays banned, what happens with Falcons? Maybe they're probably never even in that situation. Like the whole game's different at that point, but you never know what happens.
You never know.
Shopify probably wins it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
okay, that's probably what happens.
Was their issue.
That's probably what happens.
So I just want to throw that out
the
there.
change.
because I would love to see that happen. I think it would be a great quality of life change. I think
Yeah.
viewers would love it. I know pros like it on the shuttle to the airport. I'm talking with multiple pros. Like I said, Skittle earlier, McLovin, Zainu, Crumbs, Jenbert, and they're all like, yeah, like that would be great. Because pros didn't like the ring console cycling either. It felt like it wasn't very engaging for them to even play. So
I'm sure we've talked about this on the pod before, because since I've heard Privacy say it, I've talked about this multiple times on the pod throughout this past year. I'm pretty sure I've asked pros about it as well, and because I know I've talked to them and I've got their opinions, and it's always just been like, yeah. Because like right now it just doesn't make sense that the best characters are not being banned, or the most used characters are not being banned.
Yeah, no, it's a good change, and we'll see what happens as we get into year 6. We've had lots of crazy changes that have made this sport so much more fun to watch, and I think that'd be another good one. Okay, boys, let's round this bad boy out with the heart to heart. Let's take a quick break and send you guys on the rest of your week. Let's get it. All right, everybody, it is heart to heart time. Heart to heart time. Jumba, what is your heart to heart this week?
This was obviously it'll be a little bit of LAN, personal stuff at LAN. This was a fun one. It was a different one. I was brought out as an actual editor this time. Still had my own piece, but like usually we have an editor we work with. They're always great. Like last 3 LANs, this guy Luke, he's awesome. Love Luke. Shout out Luke. But like, what's it called? Like he usually does it while like I'm just kind of sitting there like giving the guidance for the piece that we're working on. This time I actually got to be hands-on with my own piece, hands-on with another piece that was like an Apex one. And then I also just got to, because I was doing that, I was like a little bit more involved in giving like input or like feedback or just hanging out with that crew in general. And I don't know, it felt different, but it felt special being that much more involved with the broadcast content. And like, yeah, I was super, super grateful to be brought out in that capacity and to work the event that way. And I mean, aside from that, the only other thing I would say is like going to events, getting to like meet fans, see your friends, everything like that. You just always freaking kind of reflect on the fact that I get to do this shit as a job, wake up every day and think about how surreal it is to have people like, want to take pictures or just talk about Apex or like sign shit. Like never thought that crap would happen. Like it's insane. It's insane to think that I'm in that position. To have people want to even like, say hello or be excited that I'm there and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, it's surreal. And my heart to heart is because this feels like, we just capped off another year of Apex. Is that huge shout out to everyone who watches the pod, watches the channel, supports me, gives me the chance to do this. I try my best not to take it for granted every day that what I get to do here.
That's big time.
It's huge.
That's big time. Jay, you're a guest. Would you like to go next?
Yeah. So mine is first off, like, I've worked EWC finals, and those are always cool, but this felt like the first like ALGS LAN I got to work on the finals, which felt very special. I felt very honored. It felt like a level up in terms of what I'm perceived as when it comes to like the desk stuff. So that was really cool. And I want to preface with that because what I'm about to say, I still want to work finals. I'm not taking that for granted, but on the flight there, I was listening to, shout out to your other podcast, Grab My Bachelor, and you and the boys were having some great conversations. And at one point, somebody threw out the line that it was just like talking about just telling your boys you love them, and I realized like there's some of my friends that, I've known for half of my entire life, and I just haven't talked to them in a while because maybe we live in different cities now or whatever. And I'm just not the greatest person when it comes to keeping up with people when I'm not like talking to them like regularly. Like I'm very bad at like texting people like check in and all that stuff, but it's like these are boys that like these are my guys, and so, and then when the finals happened, Jumba made a comment the day before where he was like, this is the first finals that we're not like sitting front row together. And it kind of hit me whenever the finals was happening. Cause like the green room is like, it's not like the spot you want to be honest. Like you're sitting there watching on a TV. So that's why I was like, we're sprinting out there every time the game's ending to go like stand out there and be in the crowd because that's where you want to be. And like when that Falcons Fnatic game happened, I was sitting there like, man, I kind of wish I was like front row with the boys again, just like we're all going crazy. And so I don't know. I feel very grateful for all of you guys. Feel very grateful for all the friends that have like helped me get to this point. Shout out to my friend Reese. He's like my day one believer, the friend who got me into Apex and told me about TSM and Alberlelli and all those guys like way back in the day. he texted me while I was in Japan. We were just talking about stuff, and it was just a really cool thing. So very grateful of that, and looking forward to more LANs with the boys where we can all just have a blast, because there's nothing like enjoying it with your friends.
It's going to be great this year because we'll have Vegas and then Japan. Everyone's planning to come back. We'll have 2 this year.
Dude,
we'll have 2.
I'm telling you, we got to go hard this year, gentlemen. We got to start saving money in the bank account.
I already pulled
no more
gloves.
CS cases. None of that. No more prize picks if you're gonna lose.
But he's profiting on CS cases.
Mind
right
you,
now.
I only do prize picks during Apex season, so I didn't even do it at all until champs this year. I didn't even I didn't do any.
I say it jokingly, but because I want all the boys.
I'm serious about it as well.
I so desperately want all the boys to be there because, like, this year compared to last year, obviously I'm not talking about the tournament experience. I'm not talking about, like, me working any of that stuff. Just not having the boys there.
The boys,
it didn't feel as fun. And there's a lot of people that I love there. I have a lot of friends at the events, but I will just forever cherish the moment that we're sitting front row and Go Next clutches that game against Alliance Falcons. It felt like 2 match point teams in the final 3 versus only one team that's not. And then they won that game to send us one more. And we all jump up and we're going crazy. And
almost passed out.
It was like 3 games back to back.
I felt like I was getting old for the first time in my life when it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when that happened, I was like, oh, this is amazing. You know, like that. I will cherish those moments forever.
Those two Alliance not wins were the greatest.
I know.
Moments.
Yeah.
Because it was right before it too.
It
was right before it.
Yeah.
We were jumping for that one, and in that moment, I was like, "Oh my god, I don't know if we're gonna get a moment like that again." And then the exact same moment unfolded the exact next game.
Yeah, like those moments with your friends are just undefeated. So yeah.
Donnie, your heart to heart this week.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing real quick, and I'll get into mine. I want to give a big shout out to all the people that worked like this event, worked on
kicked ass.
Apex all year. Apex definitely for a while, especially during this break, was very much shit on by a lot of people, saying the game wasn't a good state. It's a dead game. All this different stuff. And once again, there's just so many people. There's too many people that I don't even know their names, behind the scenes, that put together just another incredible product, another incredible spectacle. The numbers of the people in Japan just continuing to increase, of people in attendance. There's just so many people behind the scenes that don't get a shout out. So if there's anything that we can do on this pod, is just thanking the people, again, that were in the production, all of the casters, just all the people that helped put this together. They all definitely deserve a huge congrats to another amazing event for continuing to put Apex into an amazing spot, and then doing all the work they've already put in for next year to put us into an incredible spot, answering a lot of the questions and things that we hope that they would change. So just wanted to say that because there's, again, just a ton of people that definitely deserve all of that. So
on that, shout out to them, because we've been begging for them to announce the whole year in advance, and they finally did 100%. It. And Chris Pfeiffer even tweeted, he's like, listen, this was not easy, but we made it happen. Shout out to all the people who made that happen as well.
But but then the only other thing I'll just say is that, and I've said it a few times, but just a couple years ago, I quit coaching baseball, didn't know what I was going to do with life, didn't know what was going to be in store for me. And I just so happened to have a good friend named Connor that invited me to go out to an Apex LAN. I'd never been in an esport in person. I'm not going to lie. I didn't have great expectations for it. I'm sure I was going to meet some cool people, but I just didn't know what the experience was going to be like, and I never was a big flyer, never thought I'd go out to LA. And from what's come from that, to meeting Wyatt, to him putting me in the position I'm in, when he definitely didn't have to, because we had just met and we bonded over Coors Light and driving in bad traffic. So I was just, from there, it's been amazing, obviously working with him in the pod, working with, just seeing what Jay and Jumba come up with in terms of content has pushed me into doing, guides and streaming and things like that, which I never thought I would do. And just in all the other people, obviously, that we've met and will continue to meet, and the fans, there's few people that come to my stream and are supporters of that, which I never thought would be a thing. I again, there's just too many people to thank, and I just appreciate all those people that watch the pod, all of you guys, that are here right now, continue to push me to be better. I'm just really thankful, and I'm really looking forward to a lot more years, hopefully, of competitive Apex and everything that we do. So,
yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful stuff. My heart to heart this week, I thought going into this would be just getting time to spend with the boys and stuff like that. But I think the true MVP of this weekend was my fiance, Caitlin, for locking it down at home while I'm just in the garage, just sitting here watching a video game live. And not only that, but just being understanding to like know how much that means to just me and all the guys who were there. So for her to hold that down, I tried to make it in there as much as I could. If you saw me on the stream, Donnie would be trying to ask me a question. I'd get up mid question. I'd go inside, check on everybody, see how things were doing. And he'd be like, well, there goes Wyatt again. So I'm just going to keep talking now. And it was just like, you got to balance it out the best you can. It's impossible to do so, but especially when you're live for that long and you're on different sleep schedules, because there were nights I wouldn't crawl into bed till like 4:30, 5. So it was really cool. And in the midst of that, she still had like a birthday dinner planned with all the people I wanted to be there. So it was really cool. I think that would be my heart to heart this week is I feel like for single guys, not just single guys, single people out there right now, sometimes I'm watching this scene and it feels so hopeless at times, but it's not. There's people out there who are willing to help you follow the things you want to follow. You just got to be willing to put yourself out there and go through the hard parts of it. So I would say she's the real MVP this weekend. And that's about it, boys. I think that was a fantastic episode. 2 hours, 36 minutes, fellas, that we went deep talking about finals, but I feel like finals deserved that. It was one fantastic event, my favorite event of all time. I had a great time. I'm still fighting back from the results of it, but it is A-okay. I would do it 100 times over, and we're going to be out there in Vegas going dumb hard. That's what we're going to be doing. It's going to be a great time. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in as always.
Final note, I just want to point out, Dropped got 4th.
Oh my God, this kept slipping my mind. But wait, he was 1 point off 5th. He was 1 point
He's never
off
placed
5th.
his entire career. He's never been 5th at a LAN his entire career.
Not a LAN, but like just in general.
He got 4th.
But just in general. But Dropped always gets 5th or 6th, and sometimes 4th or 7th and 8th, and possibly 3rd.
This is what I was talking about.
Every once in a while,
the
9th.
Tier list.
Every once in a while, 9th.
It started out as 5th, and then it became 6th.
It was always 5th or 6th. It was always 5th or 6th.
And now it's 4.
It was always 5th or 6th.
No, when it started, it was 4th or 5th. It was actually 4th or 5th. I remember.
6th.
Oh, so
this is our bid. What
the
do you
dream
mean?
still lives.
So technically, he's been right since the beginning.
I remember
when
it. Jumbo, I think this started before you were even on the podcast, bro. This was like a throwback. This is optic
I don't know.
No,
that this
like
started.
This was definitely something
I
I pointed out. I feel like I pointed this out to Wyatt. I was like, Wyatt, do you notice Dropped always gets 5th or 6th? And then he's like, what? And then we went
I'm
through
telling
it.
you, this is an OG the Apex
it might
thing.
be, but I don't think so. I don't remember.
Wyatt was talking. I'm telling you, it was. Because I remember vividly, it started and it was 4th or 5th, and then you started to move the chains, and you got rid of the 4th, and now we got 4th.
Yeah, but now technically I was still right because we started off 4th or 5th.
You basically said, Dropped always gets like in about a 25% range of what the finals outcomes could be. Like, come on.
And when you do that, you're never wrong, and that's the best part. That's the best part. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in as always. Hopefully next week we will have somebody from Oblivion on. It's going to be really exciting to see Monsoon again if he so chooses to hop back on the pod, because I have all of the receipts of the things I did to try to get them to this win. The hat I forgot about, and you guys brought it up to me, so I will bring that up. We'll see if he gets the back tat that he said he was going to get. That's going to be the next biggest thing. But thank you guys for tuning in as always. We'll catch you guys next week for another episode of the Apex, the podcast, to further break down year 6 and maybe even start talking some roster mania. I know it's a little early, but we might do some of that as well. Thanks for Jay for hopping on. Thank you guys for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. See ya.
See ya.